Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Uchiha, starting from Tobirama Jinchuriki. Chapter 41, Konoha Training Ground Number 1. The sharp sword light flashed in the field. Kakashi was holding a short blade and practicing with his father Hatake Tsukumo. Hatake Tsukumo nodded slightly, gently used the white teeth in his hand to push away Kakashi's blade, and said with a smile, "Your mind is a little confused and you need to focus." Kakashi was startled. As soon as he finished speaking, White Fang's blade was placed on his neck, sending a bone-chilling chill. "Kakashi, you don't need to care about the name of genius. Although you are my son, Tsukumo Hatake, you are already good enough." Tsukumo Hatake put away his white teeth lightly and rubbed Kakashi's head and said softly, "In the ninja world, there are always some amazingly talented people who cannot simply be described as geniuses. For example, the first generation, Uchiha Madara, and the same is true for the second generation." Kakashi raised his head stubbornly and said in a deep voice, "Father, do you think that Uchiha Chingsui has a talent comparable to that of the second generation? The village has said that his water escape seems to be very similar to that of the second generation." After Mate became the guardian of the Chingsui family, Metkai, who used to pester Kakashi to fight him, disappeared. And Obito, who had awakened the Sharingan, no longer went to look for him, but was immersed in Uchiha Satsuna's small stove. The aloof genius, after suddenly losing the harassment of two crane tails, felt inexplicably uncomfortable. After Ching Shui showed some strength, the boring but hot topic of number one genius began to be discussed again in the village. In the dead of night, Kakashi was also thinking, who is stronger, him or Ching Shui? Sometimes he would also take Ching Shui's age into consideration, but Kakashi always thought that he was the strongest among his peers, but he still believed that as the son of Hatake Tsukumo, he was still the strongest among his peers. Therefore, Kakashi sent an invitation to Ching Shui for a sparring match, and even asked his father to watch the battle today. Kakashi knew that his father had a pair of eyes far beyond ordinary people and could see the inner potential of a ninja. Hatake Tsukumo stared at his son and shook his head slowly. "Kakashi, it doesn't matter whether Uchiha Chingsui's talent is stronger than yours or not, but you must learn to recognize your own heart, not be disturbed by external objects, and focus on your own practice. Practice of ninjutsu and swordsmanship require a state of concentration. When you are burdened by reputation and other people's words, your sword will be blunted and your heart will not be quiet. If this is the case, there will be problems in the future." Hatake Tsukumo looked at Kakashi's confused expression and laughed. "These are the principles passed down from our Hatake family ancestors when they were samurai. Father, I am not completely able to do it. Let's work together, Kakashi." And Ching Shui, who had just arrived at the number one training ground, holding Muramasa in his hand, happened to hear these words, and his expression was a little subtle. Didn't Hatake Tsukumo make it very clear when he was educating his son? How wonderful to say that you should not be distracted by external objects and focus on yourself. Why can't I think about it when it's my turn? However, it's human nature. How can you know it hurts if it doesn't happen to you? Kakashi-kun, Tsukumo-san, good morning." Ching Shui slowly walked up to Hatake and his son, first nodded to Kakashi and said hello, and then greeted Hatake Tsukumo generously, with a curious look in his eyes. "Hatake Tsukumo, this is a man with a hint of mystery. He has such a great reputation, but Ching Shui doesn't know his fighting style. After all, he lived in the praise of others in the original time and space, but he never took any action." But with just one face-to-face meeting, Ching Shui could be sure that Hatake Tsukumo was definitely very strong. His whole body is like a sharp blade with a restrained edge. It looks ordinary, but it's just that he hasn't drawn it out of its sheath. It's him. Has this little guy grown to where he is now? Senju Tobirama looked at Hatake Tsukumo's appearance and laughed from the bottom of his heart. "When I saw him in the ninja school, I had a hunch that this kid has potential and talent. Now he is a great ninja. Very good. He can be regarded as a civilian leader." As if aware of Ching Shui's questioning mood, Qian Shu Feijian explained to himself. The Hatake clan, during the Warring States period, was a clan based on the way of the samurai in the ninja world. However, they were subsequently retaliated by their enemies. After the establishment of Konoha, only Tsukumo was left as an orphan. It's said to be a ninja clan, but it's actually just a name. Ching Shui nodded clearly. As expected of Senju Tobirama, the founder of Anbu, he was very familiar with the ancient information of the ninja world, but what he said was, Tobirama, who asked you? My assessment is that since no teacher from the Hokage series was arranged for you back then, your assertion has little value. Hitaki Sakumo is just a barbaric growth based purely on talent. Haha, I don't have any credit for the geniuses who came out when I was in power. It's childish. Ching Shui shrugged, asking for credit, right? Ching Shui-kun, it is meaningless for ninjas like us to compete with most of our peers, and it is not convenient to fight against those older and more famous ninjas. Kakashi and Ching Shui nodded. When their eyes met Muramasa, they paused for a moment before continuing. So, I want to confirm the results of our training with you. Please forgive me for disturbing you. In this competition, if you can, please go all out. My father will be there for us throughout the whole process to prevent accidents from happening. Ching Shui nodded slightly. Kakashi thought very carefully and what he said made sense. At his age, if anyone of his age could master sea-level ninjutsu, he would be considered a genius. However, Kakashi mastered sea-level earth escape before entering school, and was promoted to Junin at the age of 12. But as he said, those veteran special Junin and Junin would not be willing to fight against a young genius. After all, there is nothing to talk about if you win, but if you lose, it will become a tool for spreading the opponent's reputation. Who would be willing to do this? But his father's strength was too high, and it lost the meaning of actual combat. But Kakashi didn't understand that for Ching Shui, fighting him didn't mean much. Kakashi at this age has not even developed a Reikiri, how can he fight Ching Shui? Ching Shui laughed in his heart and looked at Kakashi's slightly unconvinced face. Since Kakashi-kun has thought so thoroughly, I will agree. In fact, the person Ching Shui wanted to fight more was Hitaki Sakumo, who stood behind Kakashi with a kind face. This person is a standard cage-level ninja, and can better allow Ching Shui to confirm his own strength and know his rank. After all, Uchiha Madara was paying attention to Ching Shui. If you don't understand your own strength, you may get into serious trouble one day. Even Ching Shui couldn't tell what kind of work this old man would do. Defeat Kakashi first, and then if you have a chance, let's try it with Hitaki Sakumo. Kakashi and Ching Shui stood facing each other. Kakashi was wearing a black tights, with stainless steel arm guards on his arms, and the scabbard was placed behind his back like his father. The whole person was like an unsheathed sharp blade, with its sharp edge clearly visible. Hitaki Sakumo crossed his arms and looked at Kakashi and Ching Shui with twinkling eyes. Although he said not to make Kakashi anxious, he was his son after all, and Hitaki Sakumo was still looking forward to Kakashi's performance. Ching Shui-jun, I'm going to kill you. Come on, Kakashi-kun. As soon as he finished speaking, Kakashi's figure exploded, and he raised his speed to the extreme in one go. The short sword in his hand was also placed across his hand, and he quickly approached Ching Shui with an extremely difficult to detect pace. It's really a combination of a samurai and a ninja, with the fierceness of a samurai and the agility of a ninja. Ching Shui sighed inwardly, and when he mentioned Muramasa, the Sharingan behind the black film slowly started to rotate. Coming from the motor nerves of Senju Tobirama combined with the eye power of Sharingan, although Kakashi's speed is very fast, it seems to be slowing down in Ching Shui's eyes. Ching Shui casually drew his sword to the right. The next moment, Kakashi seemed to have collided with him. The short sword collided with Muramasa accurately, making a sound of gold and iron colliding. Kakashi's pupils suddenly dilated. Is it a coincidence? How could you predict my location so accurately? On the side, Hitaki Sakumo's expression gradually became serious. He didn't think it was a coincidence. In a close-quarters fight like a swordsmanship competition, which extremely tests reactions, every action must be efficient, otherwise the rhythm will be lost and the situation will become very passive and embarrassing. Ching Shui felt the power coming from the short sword and laughed. Kakashi, I am a few years older than you, so I have a slight advantage. Please don't be offended. After saying that, Ching Shui pressed Muramasa's blade firmly against the dagger, and his strength continued to increase. Kakashi suddenly felt unable to hold on. Ching Shui's power completely crushed him, and the blade seemed to be sticky, tightly wrapped around his short sword, forcing him to compete with Ching Shui for strength. With just one miscalculated move, Kakashi was completely at a disadvantage, and the situation seemed to be in defeat in an instant. There's something wrong with Uchiha Qingshui's power. Hatake Tsukumo stared closely at Qingshui's arm. He knew Kakashi's power. Although he couldn't compete with him, it was not a complete disadvantage among special Junin. But the current scene even made Hatake Tsukumo question a little bit. Who is Qingshui's power stronger than him? Kakashi's sweat flowed from the tips of his hair, and his arms became more and more sore and weak as he stared at Muramasa's charming blade. If he dodges, Muramasa will quickly cut him off with his sword. If this continues, I will lose my strength, and the competition will be over. Kakashi felt fierce in his heart. He suddenly released his strength, faced Muramasa's slashing blade, and threw the shuriken at his cuffs with lightning speed, aiming at Qingshui's throat. Good plan. Qingshui turned slightly to avoid the shuriken, and Kakashi quickly distanced himself from Qingshui. The body is still too weak. Although a ninja's body has overwhelming power, it is really inappropriate for him to be so afraid of this kind of iron weapon. If this shortcoming can be made up for, safety will be greatly improved, which will be of great benefit to combat. While Kakashi was relieving his sore arms, Qingshui was also reflecting on this battle and absorbing nutrients. If he had just used hydration jutsu, thunder chakra mode and other ninjutsu to avoid ordinary physical attacks, he would have ignored Kakashi's shuriken. The art of water transformation is a secret art. As for the thunder chakra mode, I don't have the nature of thunder chakra. Qingshui was thinking, and an electronic sound sounded in his mind. I sense that Hatake Kakashi has a strong feeling of victory over the host, and binds it as a line target. Qingshui's eyes lit up. Kakashi's desire to win seems to be stronger than he thought. Compared to the all-attributes Senju Tohama, this old man knew too much, resulting in more complicated rewards, and he already had a threshold for Qingshui's stimulation. But Kakashi is different. He is also a genius with all attributes of chakra, and he is still a little guy. Apart from his chakra attributes, he seems to have nothing to offer. Kakashi, it seems I can't let go anymore. Qingshui's eyes changed, and the Muramasa in his hand burned with blazing fire. The sword technique originated from Uchiha Izuna. Although it is an analytical version of Senju Tobirama, it is surprisingly matched with Muramasa, and there is no feeling of stagnation. Kakashi's eyes narrowed, alarm bells rang in his heart, and a strong sense of crisis attacked his subconscious. Earth release wall. The towering earth wall erected in front of Kakashi gave him a sense of security. Oh, this chakra level is quite impressive. Qingshui looked up at the towering earth wall. As a 7-year-old ninja, this was definitely not something that a ninja lacking in chakra could release. It can only be said that Kakashi's chakra level has always been Schrodinger's. But it's useless, Kakashi. Qingshui waved Muramasa, and the flames from the blade swept out like a fire dragon, roaring and biting on the earth flow wall, melting the earth wall with the temperature. Tisk, it's just too flashy. This kid still learned that fool's sword skills. Senju Tobirama curled his lips. This kind of ninja swordsmanship was Uchiha Izuna's early fighting style. When fighting him in the later period, both of them began to return to their original nature and no longer waste chakra. But Kakashi, who was facing the sword fire, did not have such critical thoughts as Senju Tobirama, and stared at the fire all over the sky with his mouth open. Then the green water fell from the sky, carrying flames and sword wind, and slashed at him with an expressionless attitude. And at this moment, a blue chakra slash wave came out from the side and collided with Muramasa at an extremely fast speed. Boom! Suddenly, the training ground was covered with dust. Qingshui squinted his eyes, looked at his somewhat numb hands, and looked at the apologetic Hatake Tsukumo. The knife just now was exactly what he swung. No, are you the great swordsman in the pirate world, or Ichigo Kurosaki? Hatake Tsukumo, did you go to the wrong set so you were forced to log off? Qingshui complained in his heart. At this moment, he finally saw Hatake Tsukumo's fighting style. Kakashi froze on the ground, looking at Qingshui who was still indifferent, and finally realized the gap between them. That was Hatake Tsukumo, his father's slash. Qingshui actually took it. This scene alone was enough for him to understand that the two of them were not level ninjas at all. From the laning target Kakashi Hatake, you gain the Thunder Chakra attribute. From the laning target Madara Uchiha, you have gained proficiency in fire attribute chakra ninjutsu. The reward Ching Shui wanted was received, but there was one more. Ching Shui took a deep breath and looked around helplessly, but couldn't find anything strange. No, why is there still an old man peeping? That's almost it. Do you understand what the sense of distance is? In the valley, Uchiha Madara was half lying on the wide chair. His mind was filled with the figure of the young sailor holding Muramasa just now, the sharp blade and the sky full of flames, as well as the cold sword skills and eyes. With such a posture, throughout the entire ninja world, only his younger brother Uchiha Izuna once had such a style. In particular, Ching Shui's methods of using Muramasa and fire release were exactly the same as Uchiha Izuna, and even gave Uchiha Madara the illusion that he seemed to have traveled back several decades, to the time when his younger brother was excitedly showing him ninja techniques. Afternoon. Izuna, Uchiha Madara recalled his brother, the best brother. Uchiha Izuna's life, when I think about it carefully, is a life devoted to Uchiha Madara. She has been his spiritual support since he was a child. When he grew up, he became Uchiha Madara's think tank and military support. He did not even leave a single heir in his life. In the end, he actively chose to give a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan to Uchiha. Madara died fighting in the best years. Even though Madara Uchiha is a genius and uses his Shira body to dominate the entire ninja world. But for his younger brother, Uchiha Madara owes nothing but debt. As a traditional Uchiha younger brother, an older brother who failed to protect his younger brother but was always devoted to him, Uchiha Madara's guilt for Uchiha Izuna was indescribable. In a daze, Uchiha Madara, who had read the stone tablet left by the Sage of Six Paths and awakened the Samsara Eye, suddenly thought of the possibility that made his heart tighten. Why does Ching Shui know Quan Na's sword skills? Almost all of Uchiha Izuna's training books and items were taken away when Uchiha Madara left the village. Only the Muramasa was a gift given by Uchiha Izuna to a close friend, and Uchiha Madara did not choose to take it away. But just by such a coincidence, Muramasa was in the hands of Ching Shui, and Ching Shui had no reason to know the ninja swordsmanship of Izuna, and he also learned. So, is it possible that Uchiha Chingsui is the reincarnation of Izuna? After all, the Pure Land is real, and the souls of the dead have not died. The art of reincarnation in the Dirty Land has proved this. Thinking of this, Uchiha Madara trembled all over and slowly closed his eyes. He is thinking. I'm thinking about how to contact Ching Shui, and I'm even thinking about whether his plan needs to be changed. But no matter what, the figures of Ching Shui and Izuna flashed intertwined in Madara Uchiha's mind, seeming to merge into one. Well, a sigh of excitement mixed with dullness echoed in the valley for a long time. On the training ground, Kakashi fell to the ground and was stunned for a moment as he looked at the burning Muramasa and Ching Shui's frowning expressions. He had fantasized about the scenario of fighting Ching Shui many times, but he never thought that this old senior, who was several years older than him, had actually grown up to the point where he could take his father's blows. Is this true genius? Kakashi clenched his fists hard, thinking back to the title of Konoha's #1 genius that he had enjoyed for several years, and an unspeakable sense of shame surrounded his heart. Hatake Tsukumo narrowed his eyes, looked at Ching Shui carefully, and sighed in his heart, what an amazing newcomer, I can't even see through him. But Ching Shui was not in the mood to care about Hatake and his son at the moment. The strongest and most ruthless old man in the ninja world had just boldly exploded a wave of gold coins and directly rewarded Ching Shui with a full set of fire attribute chakra ninjutsu. This kind of intensity is comparable to Ching Shui's use of the system's information gap to explode gold coins for the first time. All I can say is that this guy is really a rich man. But the problem is that Uchiha Madara seems to be a very fanatical fool who goes from online to offline, and even disturbs Ching Shui's life. Compared to Tobirama, who is controlled in the body, Ching Shui cannot interfere with Uchiha Madara's permission to watch the live broadcast. Forget it, just take a look if you want, old man. But how did he do it? The art of mayfly, or the art of elephant turning to possess Baiju. Ching Shui sighed helplessly in his heart. He also paid for it and was rewarded with a full set of fire attribute chakra ninjutsu. As for blocking Uchiha Madara's viewing rights, Ching Shui can't do it for the time being. Who told people to have the heretic golem and white zetsu? Since you can't resist, you can only choose to enjoy it. However, Ching Shui didn't know yet that Madara Uchiha had already started his fantasy time. Ching Shui-jun, I'm sorry. Hatake Tsukumo walked over slowly, with sincere apology in his eyes. In order to protect his son, he acted hastily and seriously, so much so that he used a powerful ninja sword technique like a slashing wave. Logically speaking, a ninja with his level of strength shouldn't be able to do this to protect two children. But the problem is that Hatake Tsukumo also underestimated Ching Shui's strength and didn't expect it to be so fierce. It's okay, Mr. Tsukumo, I also forgot that Kakashi is still a child. Ching Shui glanced at Kakashi with a smile, then turned to Hatake Tsukumo and said, is that move just now the secret technique of the Hatake clan? It's really an amazing slash. Hatake Tsukumo nodded. Swinging invisible chakra with the power of a sword, the sword skills inherited from my ancestors of the Hatake family and my personal understanding as a ninja, can be regarded as my original creation. Awesome. Ching Shui looked at the shining white teeth in Hatake Tsukumo's hand and said softly. Mr. Tsukumo, it's rare for me to meet a master of swordsmanship like you on weekdays. Since I'm lucky enough today, could you please give me 2 tips? Hearing this, Kakashi raised his head suddenly. Being told by Ching Shui just now that he was still a child already made him feel very unhappy. And now, Ching Shui seems to want to challenge his father. Hey, Uchiha Chingsui, you are still a student who has not graduated from the ninja school. Kakashi was about to refute Chingsui, but as soon as he started to speak, he became even more confident. So what if I didn't graduate from ninja school? Can even a special Junin be able to receive Tsukumo Hatake's slashes? Hatake Tsukumo hesitated for a moment, then took a serious look at Muramasa and Ching Shui, then smiled and nodded. I am also very interested in Ching Shui's sword skills. Then let's simply compare 2 moves. Meeting friends with a sword is considered the most elegant thing in the Hatake family's classics. Ching Shui laughed heartily. I'm serious, Mr. Shuamao, this is just the junior's bold request to ask the senior for advice. Kakashi-kun, please step aside. The confrontation later may be a little fierce. Kakashi, who was still sitting on the ground, was stunned. He looked at his father who also signaled him to get up, and ran to the training ground dejectedly, staring at the 2 people who were about to fight with aggressiveness and seriousness. Am I not the one who wants to challenge Uchiha Chingsui? How come my father is sparring with him? He is not convinced. Then let's get started, Mr. Tsukumo. Ching Shui mentioned Muramasa and took a deep breath. At present, the strongest opponent Ching Shui has come into contact with is Uchiha Yashira, but this elite Junin is completely defeated by Ching Shui in terms of moves and cannot be used as an effective reference. The Hatake Tsukumo in front of him is a cage-level ninja without any trace of moisture. He is a sole figure who can still become the sharp knife and core in the great war of the ninja world. The double Magatama Sharingan behind the blue water film began to rotate rapidly. Muramasa in his hand also burst out with more ferocious flames. I saw. In the blink of an eye, Muramasa's blade was mixed with roaring fire, slashing at Hatake Tsukumo at a weird angle. So fast. Kakashi on the side was suddenly startled. Even though he had tried his best to observe the battle, Ching Shui's speed had exceeded his imagination, and he could only see the afterimage of him. If Uchiha Chingsui goes all out to fight me, I'm afraid I won't even have a chance to release the earth flow wall. Kakashi's eyes widened, filled with unwillingness. Chang, sharp white teeth entwined with dense blue chakra accurately blocked Muramasa's blade. Ching Shui narrowed his eyes and thought in his heart, my speed is obviously within Hatake Tsukumo's perception. It is generally a head above his, that's why he is so calm. Strength, but I still have to give it a try. No, I have to go all out to chop him. Ching Shui drew the knife, and the muscles in his arms rose up. Chakra blessed his power under precise control and was transmitted to Muramasa. At the same time, Magatama rotated and released its pupil power, attacking Hatake Saku with illusions. Mao. Strange power, Tobirama Izunaryu swordsmanship, one stroke of the sword. Mixing Tobirama's strange power, the pupil power of the Sharingan, and combining the swordsmanship of Uchiha Izuna and Senju Tobirama, Ching Shui perfectly combined the advantages of the 2 opponents and integrated them into his own moves. Senju Tobirama squinted his eyes, feeling the power of this sword, and snorted, "It's unnecessary. With my Senju sword skills, I will not lose to the Hotake family's samurai sword skills. But Ching Shui brat, the combination is okay. It's a troublesome sword." But it was different from the words coming out of his mouth. Ching Shui's strike reminded Senju Tobirama of himself and Uchiha Izuna, and he vaguely felt the power of the fusion of Senju and Uchiha. These two enemies who have been fighting each other for thousands of years seemed to combine the techniques they were good at with an unexpected harmony and smoothness. This made Tobirama vaguely realize something. Hotake Sakumo and Ching Shui looked at each other. For some reason, Ching Shui's deep eyes seemed to make him feel in a trance. And in this short moment, Ching Shui's heavy sword had already broken through the safe distance and slashed towards his chest with a roar. Hotake Sakumo was suddenly startled. Even with his willpower and experience, he broke free from the illusion in an instant, but in a close sword fight, every opportunity was particularly important. White Fang caught up with him belatedly, catching up with Muramasa's speed. But, beyond Hotake Sakumo's strength, he suppressed White Fang's blade. The explosive power from Senju increased Ching Shui's power several times with this strike, and he even broke through Hotake Sakumo's defense line with a head start. Muramasa suppressed White Fang, and the entire slender katana seemed to be violent, with bloodthirsty intent, as if it was going to split both White Fang's short sword and Hotake Sakumo. Chakra rioted all over Hotake Sakumo's body, and his speed reached the limit in an instant. He used Muramasa's power to stay as far away from the blade as possible, and barely managed to dodge the blade. How is it possible? My father was actually beaten back by Uchiha Chingsui. Kakashi became confused. This scene had exceeded his understanding. In the past training with his father, no matter how hard Kakashi tried, Hotake Sakumo always stood there with a smile on his face, without even moving a step, and easily diffused his attack. For a long time, Kakashi's short-term training goal was to see Hotake Sakumo move when he was sparring with him. Blood dripped from Hotake Sakumo's chest, and a not deep but clearly visible knife edge penetrated his clothes. Ching Shui slowly let out a long breath, and he felt respect from the bottom of his heart for Hotake Sakumo's strength. This sword can be regarded as the full strength of Ching Shui's sword technique. Combined with the fusion of strange strength, Sharingan and other first-look killing moves, Ching Shui is confident that even with a 3 Magatama of the Yashia Uchiha level, he can achieve success with one strike. But even so, Hotake Sakumo still avoided this sword. "It's amazing, it's really amazing, Seishui-kun." Hotake Sakumo casually looked down at the wound on his chest and said with a smile. "It's a good thing that you are still a child and your body is not mature yet. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have to be rescued." Ching Shui shook his head, although his age was the reason why the immortal body was still unable to burst out its full power. But so what? In the ninja world, a genius who survives to adulthood is a great skill and one of the strongest talents. When talent cannot be converted into strength, it is just a worthless reputation. "Mr. Sakumo, please don't hold back. I want to see the true full power of a ninja like you." Ching Shui looked at Hotake Sakumo seriously and said clearly and forcefully, "I am proficient in some medical ninjutsu, so you don't have to worry about my injuries, as long as you give me a breath. Compared to Kakashi-kun, I lack the opportunity to fight against ninjas like you, so it is extremely rare." Hotake Sakumo looked at the serious Ching Shui silently, and after a long time, he said softly, "Ching Shui-kun, you have a sincere heart. If that's the case, then it would be arrogant of me to refuse." Hotake Sakumo's aura subtly changed after he finished speaking. His whole body became extremely dangerous and sharp, as if his eyes would sting and his neck would feel chilly when he saw him. Suddenly, Hotake Sakumo raised his white teeth, and a slashing wave several people high roared out continuously from the blade, cutting through the ground in front of him at a speed that was extremely difficult to detect with the naked eye, sealing Ching Shui in all directions. And he himself was turned into an afterimage, but White Fang's sharp edge was restrained and undetectable. It was ready to go in his hand, keeping a close eye on Ching Shui's vital parts. Hotake Sakumo launched the attack in earnest. Father. After the battle, Kakashi looked at the scorched earth in confusion. "Did you release the water just now?" Hotake Sakumo shook his head. "On the contrary, I am very serious. The current Ching Shui Jun really cannot fight me head-on. But with his illusion skills and water escape, if Qing Shui doesn't take the initiative to fight against me, it will be really difficult for me to control him. Kakashi, come on, you may have met a genius peer. But Dad believes in you. But there was a hint of pity in Hatake Tsukumo's eyes. He did not believe that Kakashi would one day surpass Qing Shui. In every generation of ninja world, there will be a talented ninja who makes his peers feel extremely desperate and becomes the mountain that no one can climb. And Hatake Tsukumo, who had the ability to recognize people, vaguely felt that Qing Shui seemed to be such a ninja. Kid, what are you thinking about and why are you so silent? Qian Shu Feijian folded his arms, looked at Qing Shui who was silently healing his wounds, shook his head and said, your talent is already amazing enough. You don't want to defeat Hatake Tsukumo at his peak at your age, do you? The ability of a ninja of his level far exceeds that of an ordinary Junin, and has reached the height of a shadow. After Hatake Tsukumo treated Qing Shui with all his strength, the terrifying chop waves were continuous, and Hatake Tsukumo himself was as fast as lightning, making Qing Shui experience unprecedented pressure. But, relying on the natural high protection of water release, as well as the dynamic vision and illusion ability of Sharingan. Although it was difficult for Qing Shui to launch an active counterattack against Hatake Tsukumo, he was able to defend relatively calmly and always kept himself safe. From Qian Shu Tojian's point of view, it was extremely valuable to be able to achieve this step at Qing Shui's age. But Qing Shui had remained silent after the war, looking like his heart was broken, which made Tobirama a little dissatisfied. Tobirama, are you concerned about me? Qing Shui spoke slowly, with a hint of exhaustion in his words. So be it, you are Konoha's genius boy after all. As the second-generation Hokage, it is normal for me to care about you. Senju Tobirama paused for a moment, looking hesitant, but still said so. Qing Shui's expression instantly changed from dull to funny. Then don't worry, Tobirama, I'm just thinking about what to eat tonight. I don't care whether I can defeat Hatake Tsukumo. What I care about is whether he can hurt me. Now it seems that I am safe. As long as I have enough survival ability to grow up, I don't think anyone in the ninja world will become my opponent in the future. Senju Tobirama's face darkened. He was indeed the evil Uchiha Chingsui. Not only was his feelings wasted, but his self-confidence was exactly the same as that of a typical Uchiha clan member. But in Tobirama's heart, he thought there was nothing wrong with Qing Shui's words. Apart from ninjas like Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, who else can defeat Qing Shui, the combination of Uchiha Izuna and him, when he grows up? And Senju Tobirama doesn't know at this moment that Uchiha Madara, whom he is afraid of, has also started to explode gold coins like him. Kid, you, Qing Shui-jun, can you talk to me? Just when Senju Tobirama was about to counterattack Qing Shui, Sarutobi Asuma emerged from the grass nearby and looked at Qing Shui with complicated eyes and a pleading tone. In those eyes, there was admiration, reverence, nervousness, confusion, and even a little longing. While Qing Shui was sparring with Kakashi and Hatake Tsukumo, Asuma was practicing the fire style of the Sarutobi clan at the training ground next door, using hard practice to resolve the confusion in his heart. But immediately, he saw the training ground next door, which was full of fire, and he couldn't help being stunned for a moment. As a result, Asuma saw the scene where Kakashi was instantly killed by Qing Shui, and Qing Shui and Hatake Tsukumo fought. He simply couldn't believe that Qing Shui, who was at the same age, could take over Hatake Tsukumo's offensive in an orderly manner. That was Konoha White Fang, the war hero who killed Sunagakur village with a sword for the village during the Second Ninja War. What troubled Asuma's heart was the will of fire that Qing Shui was best at. Qing Shui's will of fire test paper was vigorously promoted by the ninja school. When the leaves are flying, the fire is endless, was even framed on the wall of the ninja school as a conspicuous slogan. Asuma himself had long wanted to talk to Qing Shui, but under today's shock, he mustered up the courage to overcome his inner hesitation. Although he had no interaction with Qing Shui, he still came boldly. Asuma-kun, if you want to talk to me, you can. Qing Shui looked at Asuma, who looked like a rebellious young man, and smiled gently. This person is considered a very unique existence in the Naruto series. As the son of the third Hokage, he became an only son after the Nine Tails Rebellion. As long as there was no big trouble, he would at least be a Konoha consultant in this life, and if he was a little bit more ambitious, he would be the Hokage's assistant. But Asuma is not a follow-the-rules character. After the Third Ninja War, he once relied on his own likes and dislikes to do things, left Konoha and wandered around, and even thought about the question of who is Jade. In a sense, Asuma once questioned the underlying logic of the will of fire. Therefore, this is a very interesting ninja who tried to betray his own class. Where should we talk, Asuma-kun? Right here, or find a secluded place? Ching Shui stared at Asuma, who was stunned, and said softly, Please come with me, Ching Shui-kun. This is indeed not a good place to talk. Asuma was indeed stunned. He did not expect that Ching Shui would agree to his request so happily, and his words were very gentle. This is the sense of oppression brought by strength. In Asuma's heart, Ching Shui, who is as powerful as his peers, should be proud and flamboyant. He was ready to plead with Ching Shui, but he never expected that it would go so smoothly. Ching Shui agreed to his request. Asuma led Ching Shui around to a remote valley outside Konoha village. Looking at Ching Shui's confused eyes, he scratched his head and explained awkwardly. It's safer here, Lord Chingshui. The old man can use ninjutsu to peek at people in the village. This is the blind spot I found, and it's also where I usually smoke, so it's very safe here. We can say whatever we want. Ching Shui laughed in his heart. Is Asuma so filial? This explains the telescope technique of the third generation, right? It seems that Sarutobi Hiruzen's family relationship is not harmonious. Senju Tobirama frowned. Ching Shui had just told him that Sarutobi Asuma was the youngest son of Sarutobi Hiruzen. So, what is going on? The son of the Hokage came to such a secluded corner to find an Uchiha genius, and his tone showed no respect for Sarutobi Hiruzen. How come this monkey can't even be a father? Kionju Feijian shook his head, looking like he hated iron. No, you don't even have a partner, so don't accuse others of not being able to be a father. Ching Shui faintly defended Sarutobi Hiruzen, and then signaled Asuma with his eyes that he could start his question. Asuma took a deep breath and expressed the confusion in his heart. Ching Shui-kun, can you tell me, what is the will of fire? I know that Lord Ching Shui's will of fire score is very high, but do you really believe in the will of fire? If so, why would you choose to believe it? Please give me an answer, Ching Shui-jun. Ching Shui looked at the extremely serious Sarutobi Asuma and sighed. He did not answer his question directly, but asked instead. Asuma-kun, what is the real confusion in your heart? Ching Shui sat down under a rock and motioned for Asuma to sit next to him, looking at the bustling Konoha village not far away. Your father is the third-generation Hokage of Konoha Hidden Village, and the heir designated by the second-generation Hokage. Growing up next to him, you must have been immersed in the will of fire under your ears and eyes. Why do you ask such a question? Woolen cloth. Asuma slowly sat down next to Ching Shui. The prosperity he saw in his eyes was so nihilistic from his perspective. Ching Shui-kun, it is precisely because I am the son of the third Hokage that I have doubts about the will of fire. Asuma smiled bitterly, pointed to the Uchiha clan emblem on the corner of Ching Shui's clothes, and said mockingly. I'm not afraid of you laughing at me, Ching Shui-kun. If you were not an Uchiha clan member, even if you are so proficient in the will of fire, I would not dare to come to you. If I ask other people about the doubts I just mentioned, then my father will know everything I said the next day, and then he will either reprimand me severely or beat me roughly. Quote. Ching Shui laughed. You are an honest person, Asuma. That's right. The Uchiha clan is now so embarrassed in Konoha. Even if I might be able to win your father's favor, I still can't take the risk to talk to him about this matter. After all, this is considered provocation. The relationship between you and your son. Asuma nodded awkwardly. Ching Shui patted his shoulder, stared at him and said, it has nothing to do with Uchiha or Konoha. Asuma, I promise you, no one else will know what you said today. I swear by the honor of Uchiha. Hearing this, Asuma suddenly became serious. Thank you, Ching Shui-kun. Swearing on the honor of the family, this is a very reliable guarantee for a 1,000-year-old ninja like Uchiha. But after Senju Tobirama heard it, he snorted coldly. If another Uchiha said this, he would barely believe it. But if the person who swears the oath is Ching Shui, Qing Shui Tojian feels that the credibility of this is almost the same as if he swears by the glory of the Thousand Hands clan. In short, it can be said that the bottom line is very flexible. Hey, did I accidentally scold myself? Kionju Tobirama was stunned and noticed a blind spot. Qing Shui-kun, it is precisely because my father is the Hokage and my brother is the Anbu minister that I can see and hear many things in this village that others cannot see. Asma took out a crumpled cigarette from his pocket, lit it skillfully, took a deep breath, and said with misty eyes, "Do you know the route?" It was a detachment of the Anbu, in the hands of the Hokage's assistant Shimura Danzo. I once had several friends, some of whom were civilians and some of whom were ninjas, but they were all selected by the roots. Qing Shui nodded. Isn't it a good thing to be selected by Anbu? Sarutobi Asuma exhaled a puff of smoke. A good thing. They have disappeared into Konoha since then. I went to ask their elders, but their family members said that they were dead. There was hatred and unwillingness in their eyes. I don't think that my friends want to join the so-called roots. Their dream was to become Hokage. Qing Shui was speechless and nodded slowly. This is indeed Shimura Danzo's style, kidnapping the geniuses he values and brainwashing them into tools when they are young. Not only civilian ninjas, but even the ninja clan could not resist Shimura Danzo's request. Even the Yamazaka clan, which was closely attached to Sarutobi Hiruzen, had to assist and contribute their clan's genius to the Hokage. Hearing Shimura Danzo's name, Senju Tobirama's heart moved, his face gradually darkened, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Not only that, Qing Shui-kun, as an Uchiha, you should have heard of wood release, right? It seemed that because of Qing Shui's serious oath, Asma's words became bolder. Orochimaru, Danzo Shimura and my father once carried out human experiments for the sake of Konoha, in order to reproduce the wood escape of the first generation. In the beginning, this project was official and formal. Many members of the Senju clan voluntarily signed up and actively cooperated with this research. There were even many civilian ninjas who also voluntarily joined. Qing Shui waved his hand and said slowly, "Asuma, there is nothing wrong with human experimentation. The village and your father are also trying to strengthen the village. It does not violate the will of fire. After all, it is voluntary." Asuma shook his head slowly. Later, this experiment was stopped. I don't know the specific reason, but I heard that the success rate was too low and many ninjas were killed or injured. Qing Shui nodded clearly. You may not get anything in return for your efforts, Asma. The power of the first Hokage is so tempting. Any Hokage will want to recreate Konoha's past glory, but he just failed. This doesn't mean anything. Asuma sighed heavily. Qing Shui-kun, why don't I understand what you are saying? However, when this experiment was stopped, a small number of the ninjas with the Senju bloodline that I remembered in the past disappeared inexplicably into Konoha. Where did they go? Did they go to the root, or did they continue to sacrifice themselves in this secret experiment? I want to know, did the ninjas who disappeared later do it voluntarily? The blackmail at the root and the secret conduct of human experiments are just the tip of the iceberg. Are these all in line with the will of fire? Qing Shui narrowed his eyes, patted Asma's shoulder, and said slowly, so, what really makes you confused is, on weekdays, the will of fire you studied in the ninja school is so bright and righteous, without a trace of dirt or blemishes. And because of your family and origin, you have seen the darkness buried deep in the village. This conflicts with the will of fire that most Konoha ninjas have learned, and it makes you unable to understand what the will of fire is. Quote. Asma nodded vigorously. Qing Shui's summary spoke to his heart. If you have never seen the light, you can endure the darkness. Asuma, on the other hand, has seen darkness and has sincere doubts about the light in front of her. As a young man with independent thinking, Asma has his own ideals, but his origin has brought him a fragmented information gap, making him feel extremely confused and painful. Asma, give me one. Qing Shui did not answer Asma's question, but asked him for a cigarette. Asuma nodded silently, lit a fire for Qing Shui, and lit another one for himself. The son of the Hokage and the genius of the Uchiha. This strange pair, sitting on the top of the mountain, looked at the busy traffic of Konoha and smoked in silence. At this moment, there seems to be some kind of bond formed. Qing Shui and Asuma smoked cigarettes in silence, staring at Konoha in the distance. Asuma pumped very hard, as if he wanted to exhale the pain in his heart with every puff, and there was a frown on his face. Ching Shui let the cigarette in his hand burn. The Asuma in front of him reminded him of a famous Uchiha. His name is Uchiha Itachi. But now, he is probably still in Uchiha Makoto's belly. The 4-year-old Uchiha Itachi was brought to the battlefield by Uchiha Fugaku. From then on, he began to think about the meaning of life and peace. After Uchiha Itachi was asked to be a double agent, he became even more obsessed with the will of fire and believed that the Uchiha clan was an evil clan. In the end, he waved the butcher knife against his tribe, lover, and parents. To put it simply, he is a paranoid kid who was brainwashed by the enemy after being stimulated and became a devil who does not recognize his relatives. Asuma and Uchiha Itachi are similar to some extent. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen was not as abstract as Uchiha Fugaku, he did not do the corresponding work, allowing the smart and careful Asuma to smell the dark side of the village from various clues, and had doubts about his own origin. Question. It can only be said that a ninja who has only learned how to kill people since he was a child, his natural mission is to make a good sword. If a paranoid knife starts thinking, it's hard to say whether it will cut at the enemy or a friendly force. After all, what right could a knife think? In the ninja world, there are only a handful of ninjas with normal brains. Not only the Uchiha clan, most ninjas are terribly paranoid. As for Uchiha Itachi, when he was young, he came into contact with Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo and betrayed the Uchiha clan. Asuma was well protected because of his status as the son of the third Hokage, but he just wandered and wasted his youth. But it was different now. Asuma found Ching Shui. Ching Shui can be both a sharp knife and the sword holder. Asuma, since you have such distrust in the will of fire and still have doubts about the village, why did you find me? Ching Shui stared at the Hokage rock in the distance, looked at the thousand hands Tobirama above, and said slowly. Don't you think that I am proficient in the will of fire, so you should be further away from me? Asuma shook his head, a look of memories appeared in his eyes. I don't think the will of fire is bad. I just feel that the people who interpret the will of fire are too hypocritical. What they say and what they do are completely different. Ching Shui, can I call you that? After receiving Ching Shui's affirmation, Asuma seemed to be in a better mood and continued. In my eyes, you are a true practitioner of the will of fire. You are strong, humble and helpful. Even if you are an Uchiha, your existence and stories inspire many classmates. Especially, when I saw you helping Inada Kojira that day, I couldn't help but want to talk to you. You didn't continue to encourage him to become a ninja, but you helped him open a shop he liked. What I saw in his eyes was a smile from the bottom of his heart. But even if I, or any ordinary ninja school teacher, want to help him, what comes to mind is how to help him become a ninja. From that moment on, I knew you were special, Ching Shui. Asuma turned his head, looked at Ching Shui seriously, and said in a deep voice, so, I came to find you. Ching Shui nodded clearly and asked a question. Asuma, do you think it's worth sacrificing the happiness of some people in Konoha to exchange the happiness of others? Just like your friends who joined the Roots, some of them may want to walk in the light, and some may just want to open a small shop like Inada Kojira, but they have all entered the Roots. Although they sacrificed their lives, they gained Konoha's defense strength in return. Asuma narrowed his eyes, and after a moment, he shook his head vigorously. My friends, they did not do it voluntarily. In this case, although Konoha has become stronger, this kind of strength is not correct, and I think it cannot last long. The first generation master once said that Konoha was established for a group of people to unite together and to resist the invasion of other hidden villages. But I absolutely don't agree with Danzo Shimura's behavior of attacking his own people first under the pretext of fighting against other hidden villages. When Asuma said this, he clenched his fists tightly and his voice seemed to be growling. Ching Shui smiled and said slowly, if that's the case, Asuma, then I'll ask you another question. Suppose that the Third Ninja War breaks out and Konoha is at a disadvantage. At this time, the enemy hidden village proposes that if Konoha hands over a few less powerful ninjas, a peace agreement can be reached. If you are Naruto, would you agree? Asuma was about to say something. Ching Shui signaled him not to worry and continued to add conditions. If the war continues, hundreds of ninjas will die in Konoha. If we agree to them, the enemy will cease fighting for at least 10 years and usher in a relatively long period of peace. Calculate this account carefully, and then tell me, what will you choose? Asuma visibly hesitated and began to think. Senju Tobirama narrowed his eyes, and compared to the hesitant Asuma, he answered much more cheerfully. It's a boring question. If any Konoha high-level executive will hand over the ninjas in the village because of the armistice agreement, I will kill him first. Monkey, Danzo, even if they make some small mistakes, they can't be so stupid. The situation. This is not a matter of how many Konoha ninjas die, this is the integrity and will of a village. If you don't even have the backbone to fight the enemy for your friends, then there is no need for Konoha to exist. Ching Shui looked at Qian Shu Feijian with great interest and asked with a smile. Then what if the same problem happened during the First Ninja War, and the hostage the enemy proposed to exchange was Uchiha? Kid, who do you think I am? Kionju Tojian sneered disdainfully. It is true that I am discriminatory towards the Uchiha clan. That is because I will monitor the unrest inside and outside every village. But that doesn't mean that I want to resolve the internal conflicts in Konoha outside the village. If I do that, I'm not worthy of being the second Hokage. Ching Shui applauded Kionju Tobirama and said softly, I believe in you, Tobirama. And at this time, Asuma, who was troubled by Ching Shui's advanced question, also made his own decision while struggling, as if he was really the Hokage, saying word by word. Ching Shui, I will not hand over Konoha ninja, even a genin. Very good, Asuma. Ching Shui laughed from the bottom of his heart, his smile full of appreciation. I think so too, just like you. So, what do you think the current high-level officials of Konoha will do when faced with the situation I mentioned? Ching Shui had no intention of answering Asuma's questions from the beginning, but instead used the method of asking questions, guiding Asuma's thinking step by step with questions, allowing him to answer the answers on his own. The conclusion reached in this way was what Asuma thought about and was not forced on him by Ching Shui. It will be extremely deep and solid in his heart. I don't know. Asuma frowned, a trace of fear appearing in his eyes. Would these Konoha senior officials really reject what Ching Shui said about sacrificing some ninjas in exchange for a peace agreement? Asuma actually already had the answer in his heart, but the combination of his background as the son of the Hokage and the outrageous answer gave him too much impact. A village like that was completely different from what Asuma thought Konoha should be like. Don't talk about the will of fire. If that were the case, Konoha would simply become a man-eating hell. The hat of the will of fire would be placed on a Konoha ninja's head at will, and he could die. Ching Shui appreciated Asuma's panic, but comforted him with his words, I don't know the answer to this question. Asuma, even if there are speculations about things that haven't happened, we can't conclude. But if you already have fears in your heart, it means that you are not satisfied with the current situation of Konoha. In this ninja world, if you want to change something, correct thinking often comes second. Force is the key to ensuring that those insects dare not speak. Ching Shui tugged on Asuma's sleeve, looked at the scorch marks on it, and said, Are you practicing fire attribute chakra transformation? Asuma nodded awkwardly. Ching Shui, it's like this. The Sarutobi clan is good at fire escape. Ching Shui nodded clearly and immediately raised a finger. A red flame jumped up from Ching Shui's fingertips, flying freely in the air. Asuma stared intently at the dragon-like flames. He knows the difference, this is the advanced fire attribute chakra form and nature change. Ching Shui, not only are you so proficient in the water attribute chakra, you also master the fire attribute chakra so well. Asuma looked at Ching Shui with admiration, then thought of Ching Shui's origin, and scratched his head. I forgot that you are from the Uchiha clan, Ching Shui. Ching Shui smiled and shook his head, pointing his fingers. I saw more flames appearing in the midair, and these weak but lively flames gathered together one by one. Asuma stared at this scene blankly. Suddenly, the flames that were just a moment ago turned into thick fire dragons, roaring in the air. The fire dragon seemed to be alive, hovering above Ching Shui's head, looking at Asuma majestically and gently. Asuma, I'm very grateful to you today for being able to talk to me about something from your heart. Under the power of the fire dragon, Ching Shui's face did not look majestic, but was made more gentle by the firelight. In this somewhat depressing village, it is really difficult to find a like-minded person. But as I said, if you want to make the village a better place, you need to have strength as support. Asma, if you believe me, relax your mind. I will use these eyes to help you unleash your potential. Qing Shui showed his Sharingan generously, but the scarlet Sharingan used to be warm and clear when illuminated by the flames. Asuma stared into Qing Shui's eyes and murmured, This is the Sharingan. It is completely different from what I heard. After a moment, Asma felt Qing Shui's warm pupils and nodded vigorously, Sorry to trouble you, Qing Shui. The Magatama spins violently. In the illusion, Asma seemed to turn into blue water, lighting the flames with her own hands, watching them gradually grow, and gather together, becoming a fire dragon that illuminates the world and dispels darkness. Asuma was immersed in the feeling. The light and darkness of the fire dragon gave him a strong sense of déjà vu, as if he himself was the growing flame. After a long time, Asuma slowly opened his eyes. Qing Shui stood in front of him with a smile, and the fire dragon was currently hovering in his palm. Asma, catch him. Asma subconsciously stretched out his hand, only to see the violent fire dragon attack his palm. Suddenly, he was startled and heard Qing Shui's words of encouragement. Believe in yourself, you can do it. At this time, the remaining touch of the illusion world gradually revived in Asuma's memory. Asuma gritted his teeth and boldly stretched out his hand. At this moment, Qing Shui's fingers were moving slightly, controlling the intensity of chakra. Qing Shui, I did it, I did it. Asuma looked at the fire dragon in his hand with ecstasy. Even though his thoughts might be focused on the village and the will of fire, to put it bluntly, he was still just an 8-year-old child. Asuma was extremely surprised to be able to master powerful techniques, and his affection for Qing Shui reached its peak. What kind of senior Junin teacher of the Sarutobi clan? Not as good as a drop of Qing Shui. Qing Shui looked at Asuma jumping up and down with a smile, slowly put his hands together and put away the fire dragon. Asma, although many things are difficult and seem impossible, since we want to change the status quo, we must at least have the courage to try. Qing Shui looked directly at Asuma and said slowly, Just like the village now, you and I are just ordinary ninja school students. How difficult is it to make the village become what we want? However, there are some things that don't mean you shouldn't do them just because they are difficult. Asma's expression became solemn and he nodded seriously. Qing Shui, I understand. To tell you the truth, I even have the idea of becoming a wandering ninja to escape from this situation that I can't stand and can't change. But if I have Qing Shui, I think I already have enough courage. Qing Shui shook his head. Asma, I'm just a clumsy explorer. I'm actually very confused. My judgments on many things are not accurate. Asma, I treat you as a friend. What I want to tell you is, don't treat my words as correct. But, think more, Asuma. Observe more, think more, and find people and things you think are right. Asuma was stunned. Qing Shui's overly objective self-evaluation and his extremely sincere advice made him feel warm and bitter. Qing Shui is the only such person in the village. Qing Shui smiled and extended his palm to him. Let's work hard together, Asma. Asma shook it without hesitation. Let's go together, Qing Shui. I sensed Asuma Sarutobi's strong admiration for the host, and bound him as a laning target. And when Asuma's mood fluctuated, Uchiha Madara in the valley and Senju Tobirama in Qing Shui's body were also shaken in their hearts. Madara Uchiha recalled the fire dragon shown by Qing Shui with an excited and serious expression. This technique and method of utilizing fire escape chakra. The figure of his younger brother flashed through Uchiha Madara's mind, and he shook his head and smiled. I say he is the same as Izuna, but he is actually more like me. Forget it, it's all the same. After all, I taught Quan Nai his fire escape. But I won't admit this method is wrong. It is absolutely impossible to understand my fire escape technique by yourself. If the similarity between Qing Shui and Uchiha Izuna caused Uchiha Madara to be in a trance and not sure. When Qing Shui's fire escape was released, Uchiha Madara was immediately convinced that Qing Shui and the two brothers were inextricably linked. Qing Shui's fire escape technique is unique to Uchiha Madara. Combined with Qing Shui's ninja skills and Muramasa's smooth use, Uchiha Madara's expression became more and more excited. He exhaled a long breath and murmured to himself. As expected of my brother, the legendary reincarnation of chakra is actually true. During the millennium-long struggle between the Senju and Uchiha clans, a talented ninja would appear in each era and become the leader of the two clans. The talented patriarchs of each generation have many similarities in personality and ability, and they all have a script of falling in love and killing each other. This caused the Senju and Uchiha tribesmen on both sides to make a bold guess. Is it possible that the old clan leader and his mortal enemy did not come to an end and reincarnated in anger? This kind of conjecture has always been popular among the two tribes and people talk about it. Before Qing Shui, Uchiha Madara actually scorned this view and even tried to suppress it. What chakra reincarnation? What nonsense! I, Madara Uchiha, am myself and can never be the reincarnation of someone else. But after seeing Qing Shui's performance, Uchiha Madara said, "Hey, don't say it, it really makes sense. It's not just the fire escape technique, this kind of technique and words that win people's hearts. How could an 11 or 12-year-old child be so smart if he wasn't the reincarnation of Quan Na?" Madara Uchiha recalled the conversation between Qing Shui and Asuma, recalling in his mind the scene when he first became the clan leader. At that time, Uchiha Madara was still very young and vigorous. Although his force was powerful, it had not yet been developed to its extreme, and he still needed the support of his tribe. At that time, Uchiha Izuna, just like Qing Shui induced Asuma and Uchiha Yashira, with gentle words and powerful force, he helped him conquer the hearts of the entire Uchiha clan in the name of Madara. Uchiha Madara let out a long breath, his eyes filled with uncontrollable excitement and a bit of solemnity. He was excited. Naturally, he concluded that Qing Shui was the reincarnation of Izuna. It would be great to see his brother again. Dignity is Uchiha Madara's full understanding of Uchiha Izuna. Nowadays, even though Qing Shui is the reincarnation of Uchiha Izuna, Qing Shui is Shisui's brother and he also has his own ideas. In terms of identity and ideas, Qing Shui and Izuna, who is Uchiha Madara's younger brother, are two completely different people. Uchiha Madara didn't think that someone as smart as Izuna would trust him because of a simple sentence or two. If this is really the case, Uchiha Madara no longer believes that Qing Shui is the reincarnation of Izuna. This guy is so awkward sometimes. What kind of situation do we need to set up if we want this kid Qing Shui to recognize me and join me? It would be too bad if he could easily expose Qing Shui with his strength and state of mind, just like he did with that idiot Uchiha Obito. Uchiha Madara was deep in thought, his brows furrowed tighter and tighter, but the smile on his lips grew thicker. Very challenging. Uchiha Madara's heart, which had not been excited for a long time, started beating powerfully again. Uchiha Madara's eyes passed over his old arm, and his brows wrinkled visibly. Going to see Qing Shui in such a dishonorable manner. He can't accept it. Must find a way to change. In order to ensure that the Eye of the Moon project could at least continue, Madara Uchiha suppressed his desire for Qing Shui and slowly formed the seal. Black Zetsu, I'm talking to you. The plan needs to be carried out as soon as possible. Take down Uchiha Obito quickly, and then come to me to recover. You have other tasks. I understand, Madara-sama. As an Uchiha Rin, Heizetsu first respectfully returned to life and then shook his head. Although this generation of Indra has awakened the Samsara Eye, it really doesn't make people worry. What kind of spokesperson plan is this? If I didn't wipe your ass, it would be full of loopholes. I'd really work hard for it. Forget it, in order to resurrect my mother, these are just small problems. Black Zetsu stood in the corner, silently observing the sweaty Uchiha Obito, with a sick smile on his pretty face. What Uchiha Obito needs is the feeling of being cared for, so I will satisfy him. Since ancient times, heroes have struggled with beauties. Compared with heroes saving beauties, beauties rescuing heroes is the real drama that no one can resist. Especially the emotional Uchiha clan. Black Zetsu slowly sank into the ground, and a big drama against Uchiha Obito was being prepared. And in the valley, Qing Shui smiled and looked at Asuma's leaving figure, feeling very pleased. When parting, Asuma once said to Qing Shui, I have always hated using my privileges to do things in the village, but now I ask you to forgive me. For the future of the village, I have to do this. When I go back, I will beg my father to let you and I be in the same class after graduation. Please agree. I know Qing Shui that you like medical ninjutsu. I will find a way for my father to let Tsunade-sama teach us. Ching Shui happily agreed. As a Hokage, with the help of Asuma, it is difficult not to get it. If Ching Shui and Asuma were in the same class, Asuma, who rebelliously left the village, may not have a teacher from the Hokage line, but when Asuma no longer wanders and needs a teacher, Sarutobi Hiruzen will definitely arrange the best one for him. In particular, Asuma wisely chose Tsunade, compared to Jiraiya, who has the color of a god, and Orochimaru, who seems to have turned dark. Tsunade, who is good-looking and easy to use, is Ching Shui's best choice. Come on, Asuma, I believe you will succeed. Ching Shui chuckled, cheering for this hot second generation from the bottom of his heart. At this moment, Kionju Fujian slowly exhaled a long breath. As the son of the Hokage, Asuma's criticism and resentment towards the village made him, the second Hokage, very worried. What made Senju Tohama feel even more uncomfortable was Ching Shui's words, Asuma, think more. Ninja brats at this age had better not think too wildly. Thinking too much can cause problems. Ching Shui kid, tell me, what do you want the monkey's son to understand? What are you talking about, Tobirama? Ching Shui stood on the mountain peak with a smile, breathing in the clear and refreshing air high in the sky, looking at the Huiying rock in the distance. Didn't you understand what I said to him? I've already told Asuma, don't blindly follow my words. I'm just an ordinary ninja school student. Let Asuma learn to see with her own eyes and think with her heart. Is there anything wrong with that? Could it be that you want to see me, an Uchiha, teach the son of the Hokage how to be a Konoha ninja? Ching Shui laughed jokingly, while Qian Shu Fujian fell silent. There was indeed nothing wrong with what Ching Shui said, and he also did so. From the beginning to the end of the conversation, Ching Shui had always used questions to let Asuma think independently, and then let him answer the doubts in his heart. Asuma's answers are all the result of his own thinking. But, if Ching Shui tried to induce Asuma to be prejudiced against Sarutobi Hiruzen and Konoha, Senju Tobirama would not be so uneasy. Tricks and conspiracies that play with people's hearts will always reveal their flaws. But the upright conspiracy has unrivaled power, and Asuma, the so-called independent thinker, has developed a deep trust in Ching Shui. Asuma even began to use her identity and resources to help Ching Shui subtly. In Konoha, how many people covet the identity of the Hokage clan, the high-level ticket that the Uchiha clan has longed for many years. Ching Shui got it so easily. He didn't even take the initiative to do anything, he just showed his will of fire, and the son of the Hokage took the initiative to find him. He also needed a shy and pleading tone to get Ching Shui to agree to become his companion. With this result, no one could see that there was something wrong with Ching Shui, not even Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had been in charge of Konoha for many years. Because Asuma wants to do it and is willing to do it from the bottom of her heart. Senju Tobirama took a deep breath. He didn't know whether it was because of Ching Shui's extraordinary charm or the darkness of Konoha revealed by Asuma, but he felt extremely complicated. Following Ching Shui's line of sight, Kionju Tojian saw his statue on the Hokage rock, and the scenery in his eyes became trance-like. When he first took charge of Konoha, he also conquered various ninja clans. Using his own practice to unleash the will of fire, even the Uchiha clan was more happy than worried about Uchiha Kagami becoming his disciple. Is this a reincarnation? And when he was thinking, Ching Shui's voice slowly sounded, Tobirama, there is no need to be so anxious. I have never lied to you. I once told you that my purpose is simple, to let kind people have a better life, to let those who make mistakes get the punishment they deserve, and to make the village and the ninja world better. Quote, you have seen all my actions. I only ask you one thing. Does my will of fire still meet your standards? Kionju Tobirama snorted coldly, and the retort came to his lips, but he didn't know how to say it. He felt something was wrong, but even he himself didn't know what was wrong, and he couldn't tell what was wrong. But if this is the case, doesn't it mean that Ching Shui is right? Impossible, there must be something wrong with the evil Uchiha brat. Ching Shui kid, I will keep an eye on you. Imprisoning me in your body is the biggest mistake you have ever made. I will see your true face clearly. Ching Shui laughed. Is this old man confused by himself? Tobirama, can I understand that you are quite willing to be sealed in my body now? Ching Shui's eyes were subtle, and he took a step back without leaving any trace, I feel that it is better for us to keep a distance. You have disturbed my life a bit, and I am beginning to doubt your motives. Qian Shu Feijian twitched the corners of his mouth. When Qing Shui said this, he felt that there was something wrong. Kid, don't be glib. What you said to Asuma is nothing more than magnifying the darkness in the village. Qianju Tobijian forcibly changed the topic, sullenly said in a deep voice. Do you still remember our bet? You said that within 2 years, the will of fire will burn innocent people. If you lose, you must agree to my request. I will tell you now, my request is that you are not allowed to do anything that harms the interests of Konoha. Qianju Tobirama's tone was heavy, but his eyes were a little erratic. Qing Shui, who is so similar to him, probably has a similarly flexible moral bottom line. The ninja's oath is almost as good as toilet paper. But to Qian Shu Feijian's surprise, Qing Shui nodded slowly and replied seriously. I will never break my promise to you, Tobirama. Quote, as you said, even if you are an Uchiha ninja, you will not hand it over to the enemy as a bargaining chip for an armistice agreement. The same applies to me. I am a ninja of Konoha. Konoha's interests are my interests. Why would I harm them? After saying that, Qing Shui silently muttered in his heart. The future of Konoha is mine. Anything that harms me, I am not an Alzheimer's disease like you. Qian Shu Feijian stared into Qing Shui's frank eyes and nodded silently. By the way, Tobirama, I also want to ask you a question. Qing Shui smiled and patted his shoulder. If one day, for Konoha, would you be willing to lend me your power? Senju Tobirama was stunned and narrowed his eyes. For Konoha, yes. However, Qianju Tojian didn't know how he could lend his power to Qing Shui. This kid must be coveting my wisdom, and he is quite knowledgeable. After hearing Qian Shu Tobijian's affirmative answer, Qing Shui smiled and nodded. If it is like this, don't worry, Tobirama, I won't let you sit down until the day you lose. I will really feel sorry for you. You were, even now, my idol. Coming from the line target Senju Tobirama, you have obtained the ninjutsu and the technique of mutually multiplying detonating talismans. You arrogant brat, I believe in Konoha and my students, I don't need your help. Qianju Feijian waved his hand in a gesture that was very disdainful of Qing Shui's words, but the electronic sound of reward honestly expressed his seemingly happy heart. A few days later, in the dark part of the village, Shimura Danzo, a student trusted by Senju Tobirama and known as the darkness of the ninja world, and the root of Konoha, was checking the information about Qing Shui at the root, with a cruel and satisfied smile on his lips. I already have the wood release. If I have the Sharingan again, who else could take the position of Hokage but me? And in the most dazzling place in the village. In the Hokage building, the rebellious Asuma knelt in front of the astonished Sarutobi Hiruzen, his eyes full of regret and pleading. One light and one dark, two core characters in Konoha. At this moment, everyone started brainstorming because of Qing Shui's presence. Chapter 51. Hokage Building. Sarutobi Hiruzen took off the Hokage hat with emotion, waved, and gestured for Qing Shui to sit on the chair opposite. I'm really troubling you. You, a child, have to worry about family matters, which makes me feel a little ashamed. Come and sit here, Qing Shui, and let me take a good look at the future generations and the future of the village. Qing Shui gave Sarutobi Hiruzen a sunny smile and sat over without hesitation, as if he knew him very well. Although, this was only the first time Qing Shui and Sarutobi Hiruzen met. After Asuma and his Hokage father made a stunning kneel, Sarutobi Hiruzen was shocked as he heard his former rebellious son's self-criticism of his past actions, as well as his heartfelt admiration for Qing Shui and his desire to have him become a teammate. This surprised Sarutobi Hiruzen. The brat at home finally became sensible. But at the same time, his many years of experience in governing have given him a hint of sensitivity. Therefore, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had planned to observe Qing Shui for a while, was prompted by asthma to find Qing Shui in advance and proactively, and started chatting with Qing Shui as an elder and Hokage. Qing Shui was very keenly aware of Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart, and without waiting for him to lay the groundwork, he directly told the Hokage's father the general content of his conversation with Asuma. Until now, the words spoken by Qing Shui and Asuma were in perfect agreement, which gradually made Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart settle down. But this was not enough. The Hokage of Konoha would also give Shui a final test. Hokage-sama, I don't think there is anything troublesome about Asuma. On the contrary, I enjoy getting along with him. He is an enthusiastic, sunny and talented ninja. Shui smiled and took the tea handed over by Sarutobi Hiruzen. After thanking him, he said slowly. What surprised me the most was that although he and I were both just students at the ninja school, Asuma had a macro perspective on the village and the ninja world, and said many thoughts that touched me deeply, which I admired. To his measure. Sarutobi Hiruzen listened carefully, an inexplicable light flashed in his eyes. Measure. What did Asuma and Shui say? How deep has Asuma's thinking reached? Sarutobi Hiruzen's curiosity and vigilance were aroused. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. Alas, I am busy with government affairs and neglected to care and educate Asuma. Neither he nor I, the father, ever mentioned these things. Shui's face hesitated, as if he had something to hide, and his brows furrowed. After a moment, Shui looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen seriously and said in a deep voice, Sandame-sama, I shouldn't have said these words. After all, this is your family matter, and it also involves another high-level person in Konoha. I am just a ninja school student, and I am not qualified to comment on these things, but as Asuma's friend, if you allow me, I would like to talk to you as his father in this capacity. Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at Shui, and saw that Shui's clean eyes were full of sincerity, with a hint of shame towards his friends. Shui, your grandfather Uchiha Kagami and I are companions through life and death, and you are my youngest son Asuma's friend. In private, you can just call me Uncle Hiruzen. There is no need to call me by my job title. We should be a family. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled and touched his beard. This sounds like I am younger, my beard is not white yet. Shui nodded heavily and said calmly, I understand, Uncle Hiruzen. Asuma, the reason why he didn't understand you before was because of a secret organization in the village called Roots, which is controlled by the Hokage's assistant Shimura Danzo. When Shimura Danzo's name was mentioned and entangled with Asuma, Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes became serious. Did Shimura Danzo extend his evil hand to his son? This is intolerable. Since Asuma will inevitably come into contact with some information, when he accidentally noticed the root, he discovered an astonishing secret after paying attention over time. He doesn't understand why Nibi has not been punished for illegal operations, and Danzo Shimura and you are good friends. Asuma thinks it is because of Uncle Hiruzen's protection that Nibi acted so wantonly. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression was strange, with worry mixed with relaxation, but his eyes kept signaling Shui to continue talking. Shui said bluntly, what Asuma focuses on is the experiment of developing wood escape. Experiments to develop wood escape. Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes slightly. It was not surprising that Shui knew this. After the Second Ninja War, the wood release experiment was decided through a high-level meeting of the Jonin class. As the Uchiha clan with Sharingan, they paid great attention to this matter at that time. But Asuma, why do you continue to pay attention to this suspended experiment? Shui seemed not to notice the change in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes and continued. Asuma discovered that after the village stopped the experiment, some ninjas with Senju bloodline disappeared in Konoha and never appeared again. Quote, even some children with Thousand Hands bloodline have disappeared inexplicably. Such a vicious incident. Asuma believes that the Roots would not have been able to do this without your affirmation. Having said this, Shui sighed helplessly. Asuma and I have told you that as Hokage, you have to direct the affairs of the entire village, dozens of ninja clans, and tens of thousands of ninjas. It is impossible to control all the changes in the village. And the Roots are a powerful organization under the Anbu. If they work hard to deceive you, they can still do it in the short term. Shui moved his eyes to the Hokage bamboo hat on the table. His tone was filled with envy and a hint of helplessness. Uncle Hiruzen, Asuma admires you very much, but he admires you to the extent that he hopes you can do everything and manage the village without a trace of dirt. So, when Asuma sees that the darkness has not been dealt with and admires his father so much, he will not think about whether there is something wrong at the root, but thinks that you should have dealt with it long ago. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression became more and more shocked, and even a little relieved. He unconsciously took out his pipe and groped for the flint on the table. Ching Shui stood up neatly, his fingers ignited just the right amount of fire, and he went forward. Sarutobi Hiruzen patted Ching Shui on the shoulder, took a deep breath, and exhaled a puff of thick smoke. Ching Shui, I don't know how to thank you. I have to admit that what Asma said is right. This matter was my negligence, which led to me failing to live up to his expectations. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. As a Hokage and a father, I have made mistakes and I need to reflect. Fortunately, with Ching Shui's presence, I learned about these problems in time, and I will make an explanation that satisfies you two in the village. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled happily in his heart. Asuma, who was thought to be purely rebellious, turned out to be having trouble because he admired his father too much. Is this reasonable? From Sarutobi Hiruzen's point of view, this is too reasonable. The key is that it sounds comfortable and useful. Ching Shui's performance made Sarutobi Hiruzen very satisfied. As Hokage, what he needs is someone who tells him the truth, whether it's Uchiha or Ino Shikacho. The so-called loyalty is not absolute, it means absolutely disloyalty. At present, Ching Shui's loyalty is extremely rare in the Uchiha clan and even in Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen recalled Ching Shui's test papers, and he felt more and more that Ching Shui in front of him was a ninja who knew and acted together. The will of fire must be burning in Ching Shui's chest. Ching Shui, don't worry. As the Hokage, Uncle Hiruzen will definitely give an explanation to Asuma, Yu and the entire village. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked very serious and said in a solemn tone, in Konoha, no matter who you are, even if the Hokage assistant makes a mistake, you need to accept severe punishment from the village. The will of fire is what every ninja in Konoha needs to abide by, and Danzo Shimura is no exception. Ching Shui nodded in agreement. But Senju Tobirama, known as Xiao Qingshui, narrowed his eyes, expressing his disapproval of this Hokage-sama. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't hear it, he still cursed. At the level of a monkey, I can't even hold the cigarette stick I tricked by the kid Ching Shui, and I got 0 points on my will of fire test paper. I remember, monkey, when I can see you, you can explain to me how you manage Konoha. While Ching Shui listened to Sarutobi Hiruzen's speech with a smile, he struck at the very unhappy Senju Tobirama. Tobirama, although this dead person is sometimes more useful than a living person. But at present, it seems that you, a dead Hokage, are really not as useful as a living person. Look, even if you scold Hiruzen Sarutobi, he will ignore you. You should learn more from others. Go ahead and scold me. I want to hear what the third Hokage has to say. You are such an old man who doesn't seek to improve. Senju Tobirama's face darkened. Although he knew that Ching Shui was trying to support the fire, he was still extremely angry. If conditions permit, he wants to rush out and teach Hiruzen Sarutobi a lesson right now. Coming from the line target Senju Tobirama, you have obtained the art of earth escape and reflecting fish in the earth. There is one more thing I want to report to Uncle Hiruzen. After Hiruzen Sarutobi denounced Danzo Shimura and Dai about the will of fire, Ching Shui went in his left ear and out his right ear and said slowly. Asuma taught me the fire escape of the Sarutobi clan. In return, I shared with him some of the fire escape techniques of the Uchiha clan, but in order for him to understand quickly, I used the genjutsu of the Sharingan. This is a bit of my development of the Sharingan. I use illusion to let ninjas experience the touch of releasing difficult ninjutsu. It is also helpful for mastering new ninjutsu. Maybe it can be used in the teaching of ninja schools. Also, I'm a little worried. I'm afraid that I used illusions to exchange fire escape skills with Asuma, and someone with ulterior motives will find out and cause conflicts. Like Asuma, I don't trust some people in the village. I only trust Uncle Hiruzen. After all, I am an Uchiha. After Ching Shui finished speaking, he revealed a pair of Sharingan eyes that exuded warmth and sighed. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at this special pair of Sharingan and smiled. How could he not know? When Hiruzen Sarutobi used the telescope technique and saw Ching Shui teaching Nohara Rinjo Senjutsu, he understood what was going on. The title of Doctor of Ninjutsu did not come out of thin air. The key is that Ching Shui showed him the Sharingan and confessed to using genjutsu on Asuma. This is very important. No matter how the genjutsu is used or whether the intention is good, using genjutsu on the son of the Hokage is very sensitive. But when Ching Shui took the initiative to speak out, the nature of the matter completely changed. At a level below the kaleidoscope, Hiruzen Sarutobi is not afraid of the illusion of the Sharingan. This is Konoha, not a remote Kurigakure village that doesn't even have sensory ninjutsu. It has the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, the perception of the Yamanaka clan, the Uzumaki clan, and the wisdom of the Nara clan. No one can quietly control the top brass of Konoha and Asuma, the son of the Hokage. You kid, you think too much. Sarutobi Hiruzen had a smile on his face and a hint of reproach in his tone. Don't worry, Uncle Hiruzen, I absolutely trust you. You are an excellent Konoha ninja and have the best will of fire I have ever seen. Don't worry about being an Uchiha. The Uchiha clan is also an important part of Konoha. My former teacher, the second Hokage, even under such circumstances, had no reservations about Kagami and regarded him as an important disciple. Although I am not as good as Tobirama-sama, I still have to accept your understanding, Qingshui. Quote. Qingshui took a long breath after hearing this, and laughed from the bottom of his heart as he listened to Qian Shufei Jian's angry curses. Monkey, you have a bullshit sense of control. You really embarrassed me in front of this brat. The more Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Qingshui, the more satisfied he became. He coughed softly and said slowly, Qingshui. Next, I want to make a request as your friend's father. I know that ninja classification is the beginning of every ninja's career and the starting point for cultivating bonds. It is extremely important. You may already have your favorite teammates. But I am not only a Hokage. As Asuma's father, I have to say that I have some selfish motives. When it's time to separate classes, I will put you and Asuma in the same class and find a good teacher for you. Qingshui laughed. Is this a little willfulness of being Hokage? Thank you, Uncle Hiruzen. I also really want to become teammates with Asuma and grow together to become the pillars of Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled happily. In his heart, he was already a Hokage who could conquer Uchiha just like Senju Tobirama. Looking at the portrait of Senju Tobirama hanging on the wall, Sarutobi Hiruzen thought in his heart, Teacher, I am trying hard to chase you and become a good Hokage. Please, cheer for me. When Qingshui left, Sarutobi Hiruzen specifically mentioned to Qingshui. If a certain shinobi really makes trouble for him, don't worry, Konoha's Iron Fist will support the righteous Qingshui. And just a few nights later, Qingshui, who was shopping for groceries home, passed an intersection. A strange man covered in bandages and holding a cane appeared in front of Qingshui. The visitor is Danzo Shimura. In the recent period, Hokage has been assisting Lord Shimura Danzo, and he feels very proud of himself. The human experiment conducted privately with Orochimaru was successful, and the surviving baby was named A by him, and he awakened the talent of wood release at just a few years old. According to A's intelligence, Orochimaru injected a small amount of Hashirama cells into Danzo Shimura. Although he failed to master the wood release, it allowed him to better control the 3 Magatama Sharingan in his right eye. At this point, Danzo Shimura believes that he has mastered the original power of Konoha. The combination of Uchiha and Senju can bring about all kinds of things. Oh no, it's the position of Hokage. The confident Shimura Danzo, after looking into the obstacles that hindered him from becoming the 4th Hokage, found that there was only one Hitaki Tsukumo who made great contributions to the Second Ninja War, and he was somewhat outstanding. The rest, such as Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru, were all defeated in the Omegakure village, so they are not heroes. Although he has the name of Sanin, compared with him, the old Konoha Masahiro flag, he is still far behind. And the recent limelight of Qingshui, when this shinobi learned about it, made him even more worried. Danzo Shimura needs more Sharingan, and if he can blind a talented Uchiha to be his loyal dog. Aren't those 3 Magatama Sharingan inexhaustible? Orochimaru has told him that if he wants to obtain the power of wood release, he must inject more Hashirama cells, and if he wants to carry more Hashirama cells, he needs more 3 Magatama Sharingan. Moreover, if Shimura Danzo wants to ascend to the position of Hokage, and if Qingshui can win over the Uchiha clan to help him, then the success rate will be greatly increased. The combination of these reasons gave him a strong desire to capture Qingshui. This time, Danzo Shimura came to find Qingshui, and he carefully prepared a perfect set of words and trump cards. Uchiha Qingshui, I like you very much. Shimura Danzo's right eye was wrapped with a bandage and he was leaning on a cane in his left hand. He stood in the middle of the road with a sinister look and said to Qing Shui, who was walking over, "Your will of fire cannot be exerted in the bright places of the village. Only here can you display your ambitions and let the Uchiha clan go on the right path." Qing Shui slowly stopped, narrowed his eyes, and looked at the roots of Konoha in front of him. Does this Hokage assistant think he is very famous? Why don't you introduce who you are? I'm just a ninja school student. I don't know what you, the leader of the secret army, look like. Isn't it reasonable? Therefore, Qing Shui looked at Shimura Danzo in confusion, who was full of confidence and seemed to be waiting for him to bow before him, and said slowly, "Who are you?" For a moment, the atmosphere of the scene became weird. Chinsho Feijian held his forehead and sighed. In recent times, he has witnessed the pranks made by the son of the Hokage and the third Hokage respectively, which has brought the second-generation Hokage to the limit of his endurance. Seeing the appearance of his beloved disciple Shimura Danzo, a trace of despair appeared in Senju Tobirama's eyes. "If you are a good person, what kind of monster do you think you are? How old are you, Danzo? He's on crutches and blindfolded. Who knows where he thinks he's a perverted weirdo? Even if it's a monkey, even though Senju Tobirama thinks he's stupid. But in his prime, Hiruzen Sarutobi's overall appearance is very decent, serious, powerful and gentle. But what is Danzo Shimura doing in this appearance in front of him?" Thousands of hands were silent. After a long time, Qing Shui and Shimura Danzo were relatively speechless. Finally, he couldn't help but speak first. "I am Shimura Danzo, the Hokage assistant of Konoha and the leader of the Roots. What I say is Konoha's will. Really, I don't believe it." Qing Shui raised the corner of his mouth and looked at him wildly. "Uncle, your appearance makes it hard for me to believe you. Don't you think that if an ordinary villager met you at night, he would be frightened at least half of the time? Life. Assistant Hokage, I have heard of this position. But I don't know who the Hokage's assistant is, let alone who Danzo Shimura is, and especially I don't believe that the village's top management would be like a mouse and come to find a ninja school student so secretly at night. So, are you a spy from another village, or a weirdo who likes to play pranks?" Qing Shui's expression became alert, and his eyes became dangerous. Shimura Danzo's face trembled, and what Qing Shui said made him feel a little heartbroken. Although no one would dare to say these words to him normally, Danzo Shimura could feel it in his subconscious. Except for the Junin in Konoha, most of the ordinary Chunin and Genin really only know his name, but don't know what he looks like, as the root leader who is more mysterious than the ordinary Anbu. There's nothing we can do about it. Who told him to spend most of his time hiding in the root base, or performing secret missions? Roots are faceless. If Gen wants to show his face, he will expose his butt. Evil Uchiha brat, although it's hard to hear what I said, I really need to pay attention to my personal image, and I should also find a way to let these ninja school children know that I exist." Danzo Shimura muttered in his heart and threw an ID towards Qing Shui. On the document, there is Konoha's special mark of identification, proving his identity. "Kid, don't waste the opportunity I gave you." Danzo Shimura snorted coldly and said arrogantly, "I will train you hard and accept you as my disciple." After saying that, Danzo Shimura raised his head, waiting for Qing Shui's response. This is the killer move he came up with. As the Hokage's assistant, wouldn't it be easy to subdue Qing Shui, a Dove-style Uchiha with an explosive will of fire? After that, as long as he takes down Hatake Sakumo and uses Qing Shui as a springboard, the entire Uchiha clan will become the source of power to support him. In the whole of Konoha, where is Danzo Shimura's opponent to compete with the fourth Hokage? It's really evil, Qing Shui brat. Chinsho Feijian couldn't hold back any longer. First, Monkey's son asked you to be his companion, then Monkey himself asked you to be divided into classes, and now Danzo comes to ask you to be his disciple. Did you cast an illusion on me and let me watch these bizarre scenes to torture me? Qing Shui ignored Tobirama and looked at Shimura Danzo, who was waiting for his response, with a trace of pity in his eyes. It has to be said that due to the storm caused by Qing Shui's butterfly, the treatment and sincerity given by Shimura Danzo this time are unexpectedly satisfactory. If there wasn't the matter between Sarutobi Hiruzen and Asuma, Qing Shui might actually consider agreeing to Shimura Danzo and slowly continue playing with him at the root. It's a pity. Danzo Shimura was once again one step late. It's just that this time it's not that he's behind Sarutobi Hiruzen, but Asuma is one step ahead of him. Danzo Shimura's domineering attitude is revealed. Based on the conditions he offered, even if Ching Shui thought there was something fishy, Shimura Danzo didn't think Ching Shui would refuse. This is the identity of the Hokage's assistant disciple. This is the ticket to the top of Konoha, and the Uchiha clan knows its value best. Since the death of Uchiha Mirror, the Uchiha clan has lacked this identity and was kicked out of Konoha's core power circle. It can be said that for this identity, not only the Uchiha clan, but also many ninja clans in Konoha dug holes to study and tried their best to kneel down neatly, but none of them could do this. Shimura Danzo's performance really surprised Ching Shui. He had originally thought that with Shimura Danzo's level of trust, he would have just babbled when he found him, and then asked to join the root drama in a commanding manner, but he didn't expect that he actually showed sincerity. However, compared to Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shimura Danzo's priority will always be ranked behind him. Regarding this point, both Tobirama and Ching Shui think so. Assistant Danzo, I'm sorry, but I have no interest in becoming your disciple. Ching Shui smiled apologetically. As for adding roots, that's even more true. Shimura Danzo's expression suddenly became ferocious. He tried hard to recruit but was rejected by Ching Shui. The conceited man felt extremely humiliated. I am Danzo Shimura, the Hokage assistant of Konoha, and the leader of the Roots. I have already lowered my face to come to you, but the ignorant brat from the Uchiha family dares to refuse without good reason. How dare you? Perceived that Danzo Shimura had strong anger towards the host, and bound it as a laning target. Ching Shui chuckled, why is this guy so anxious? You just refused him politely, why are you so angry? Uchiha Chingsui, I am not asking for your opinion, but conveying orders and the will of the village. Shimura Danzo said with a sullen face, I am the Hokage assistant, and what I say to you is an order that Konoha ninjas must carry out. Come back to the Roots with me now. Do you want to take orders against the village and become a rebellious ninja of Konoha? Ching Shui looked at Shimura Danzo speechlessly. Wasn't his behavior too overbearing? Do you really think you are the overbearing president of Konoha? You are just a glove, and there are people on it. Not only is it above the village, but there is also someone inside Chingshui that Danzo Shimura cannot afford to offend, watching him. Tobirama, is this the student you taught? No wonder you got a 0 score for your will of fire. Hiruzen Sarutobi wants to criticize you. Look at Shimura Danzo's appearance from the inside out. How can there be any trace of the will of fire? I heard that Danzo Shimura takes you as his target and idol, and imitates you in his behavior. It seems today that the rumors are probably true. Qianshu Tobijian put on a mask of pain during Ching Shui's questioning. He knew that Danzo, a kid, had admired him since he was a child and had deliberately imitated him, the second-generation Hokage, from his speech to his work style. Shimura Danzo also silently inherited the attitude of the Uchiha clan and was proud of it. No, that's not how I treated the Uchiha clan back then. What did he learn? Senju Tobirama was stunned. As the Hokage's assistant, he kidnapped and trafficked a ninja school student in the middle of the night, and also used the big hat ordered by the village's top officials. What kind of political genius is this? Especially looking at Shimura Danzo's skillful look, it seems that this is not the first time he has done this kind of thing. This is when I met Ching Shui. Then if it were another ordinary ninja school genius, no matter how talented and smart he was, how could he resist the threat of a Hokage assistant? How are the children who were abducted now doing? Danzo, what on earth are you doing? What else have you done? Qianshu Feijian was so busy thinking that he didn't even have the energy to pay attention to Ching Shui's taunts. A feeling of suffocation surged into his heart. Just like Ching Shui said, no matter from which perspective, Shimura Danzo's behavior is completely unrelated to the original will of fire. He seems to be a fool who uses his power and status to oppress and bully other people. Assistant Danzo, I will definitely not become a traitor. Ching Shui shook his head and said. Danzo Shimura sneered proudly, beckoning Ching Shui to follow him, and heard Ching Shui mockingly say, I haven't graduated yet, and I'm not even a ninja. How can I become a traitor? I suggest you let me check your brain first. You don't feel very clear. You bratty brat. Shimura Danzo's face was as gloomy as water, and he waved his hand, "Get Uchiha Chingsui." In an instant, dark figures wearing masks appeared on the corners of the street, on telephone poles, and on the eaves. Roots. Immediately, a black-gray barrier that blended into the night sealed off the surrounding area. Ching Shui slowly clapped his hands. "It's amazing, it's really amazing. Assistant Danzo, not only did you personally find me, a ninja school student, but you also brought the root team here. For Konoha's resources to be squandered by you like this, the future of the village is really worrying." Shimura Danzo's face became increasingly gloomy. He had already thought that after Ching Shui was caught back to his roots, he would deal with this slippery brat severely. The roots drew out their ninja swords one after another and surrounded Ching Shui from all directions. The eyes behind the mask were cold and indifferent. "Tobirama, you said that, right?" Ching Shui did not rush to deal with the incoming roots, but communicated with Senju Tobirama. "For Konoha, are you willing to lend me your power? Now, I am being persecuted for no reason by your students. Can you give me an explanation?" Senju Tobirama snorted coldly. His posture was very tough, but his confidence was very low. "If I could personally punish Danzo, I would have taken action long ago. I am sealed in your body. Even if I want to help, there is nothing I can do. You promised not to break your promise to me, and I will naturally not break my promise to you. You take these roots first, and then if Danzo attacks you personally, I will teach you how to deal with Danzo." Ching Shui chuckled softly. "Then wait a moment, and don't resist me borrowing your power. This requires you to cooperate with me very much. Let me experience it. How far can the power from the second Hokage reach?" Kionju Tobirama was stunned. He didn't understand what Ching Shui meant, but he still nodded. "And at this time, keep alive, come on." With Danzo Shimura's order, the members of the roots quickly charged towards Ching Shui, aiming their knives at his vital points. If we were not in a village, we would still need a certain degree of concealment, otherwise these ruthless machines at the root would have already started using powerful ninjutsu. Ching Shui ignored the attack of roots in front of him, and looked at Danzo Shimura with a cold expression in the distance, and slowly clasped his hands together. The secret technique of Ching Shui, the power of Lama Fei. Ching Shui's chakra was rioting. At the same time, Senju Tobirama, who had been unable to feel his own chakra before, seemed to have unlocked some kind of seal, and power comparable to his peak state poured out from the depths of his soul. But the unsealed power is vertical and directional, and can only be transmitted from his direction to Ching Shui's hands. Senju Tobirama's eyes widened in shock. Although he continued to send chakra to Ching Shui, he began to rapidly analyze the situation in his mind, constantly trying to better control this power. "Is this your power, Tobirama?" Ching Shui closed his eyes and said softly, "I feel it. In order to protect a better Konoha, please lend it to me." At this moment, the root ninja's blade also approached Ching Shui's vital point. Ching Shui slowly opened his eyes becoming extremely sharp from this moment on. At this moment, he is Ching Shui, Tobirama, Uchiha Tobirama and Senju Ching Shui. I saw Ching Shui folding his arms, and like the materialized dark blue chakra, it burst out with his body as the center. The terrifying pressure tore the earth apart, and the root ninjas who came to attack were directly blown to pieces. Thousand-armed monster Ryu chakra suppression. Is this the root ninja? It's as strong as a monster. It can break through my chakra burst. Ching Shui sighed sincerely. Now he is no longer just a ninja school student, but a strong man carrying the peak Senju Tobirama. In front of him, there were still elites who had withstood the pressure of chakra and rushed towards him. Although their eyes were full of shock, they continued to charge towards Ching Shui without fear of death. Just because Danzo Shimura did not give them an order to retreat. As ruthless weapons, they have abandoned emotions and are just cold tools. Poor guys, may the will of fire protect you, Ching Shui said, but his movements were as fast as lightning. The swiftness of Uchiha and the fierceness of Senju were clearly reflected in his movements at this moment. With extraordinary strength and speed, Ching Shui casually punched the root in front of him, and kicked away the elite who came from behind. His movements were not sloppy, but had a simple and gorgeous look. At this point, in less than a few breaths, an elite root team lost their ability to fight. At this moment, Danzo Shimura's eyes were staring to the limit, and his eyeballs seemed to be bulging out. The moment Ching Shui's chakra burst out, Danzo Shimura couldn't believe his perception. That was the chakra he was extremely familiar with. His mentor, his goal in life, the chakra between Senju Tobirama. Since childhood, Shimura Danzo has looked up to Senju Tobirama and subconsciously imitated his every move. On the battlefield, Senju Tobirama's move of releasing chakra is one of his signature moves. Using chakra as momentum, he can instantly demoralize the enemy and gain the upper hand in the war. Danzo Shimura had wanted to learn this trick for a long time, but in the end he failed. How many times in his dreams had he imagined that he had taken over the mantle of Thousand Hands Tobirama? This technique was also lost after Senju Tobirama died. But today, Danzo Shimura saw this scene again. However, it was not him who used this move, but an Uchiha named Ching Shui. After the shock, Shimura Danzo blinked hard, his expression completely distorted at this moment. "You evil Uchiha brat, how dare you? How dare you imitate Lord Tobirama's technique? Are you challenging my patience and bottom line? You are blaspheming." Danzo Shimura was so angry that he flew his fingers and used ninjutsu directly in the village. He took a sharp breath, and then spit out an extremely strong high-pressure airflow. The airflow rotated sharply, gradually expanded from a line into a surface, and roared towards Ching Shui. Wind release vacuum Dayama. Ching Shui narrowed his eyes. This move was regarded as Shimura Danzo's unique skill. If paired with his psychic beast, the combination of the two winds can even blow through Susanoo's defense. If Ching Shui didn't have the power of Senju Tobirama, it would still be quite difficult to confront the move of the mature Shimura Danzo. But the problem is, Ching Shui is not fighting alone. Water release water formation wall. The vast water rose from the ground. Ching Shui stood calmly in the dense water wall and looked at Shimura Danzo quietly. The vacuum jade blows the water formation wall, and can only bring out ripples, but cannot penetrate the water wall's defense at all, just like the way Senju Tobirama fed Danzo Shimura when he was a young boy. Looking at Ching Shui's water escape, every detail was so similar to what he remembered deep in his memory. Ching Shui and Danzo Shimura's eyes once again fell into a trance, as if he saw Senju Tobirama standing there. From the laning target Shimura Danzo, you get wind release vacuum Dayama, wind release vacuum continuous wave, wind release vacuum sword. No, you are imitating, Fei, Jian, big people again. After falling into a trance, Shimura Danzo's anger almost overflowed from his eyes as he spoke word by word. In his opinion, whether Ching Shui's water escape or coercion, although he didn't know how he did it, in the final analysis, they were all mocking him, Senju Tobirama's favorite disciple. It's tolerable, but it's intolerable. A cold light flashed in Shimura Danzo's eyes, and he quickly rushed to Ching Shui's side, spitting out a dense wind escape chakra blade in his mouth very coherently. Wind release vacuum blade. This little pretentious brat, I learned the essence of my teacher's physical skills. Danzo Shimura stared closely at Ching Shui's movements, with a cruel smile on his lips, and slashed Ching Shui's neck with the vacuum blade. When Danzo Shimura was in his 60s, he was still able to suppress Shisui with his physical skills and took away his Mangekyo Sharingan. But now, he was in his prime, and he was facing Ching Shui, a student from the ninja school. Alas, Kionju Tobijian sighed, his heart full of exhaustion. He could see that Danzo Shimura was preparing to take Ching Shui's life with his sword. It's too much. As a result, Senju Tobirama silently increased the intensity of the transmission power, gradually reaching full strength. Ching Shui chuckled. Is this old man worried that he will die? It's really a sharp mouth but a tofu heart. At this moment, Senju Tobirama, who was at his peak, came to the ninja world again, still in the form of Uchiha. With just one move, the extremely confident shinobi Darkness was knocked to the ground, clutching his stomach in disbelief. How can it be? Ching Shui turned sideways, glanced sideways at Danzo Shimura who was kneeling on the ground, and said softly, Assistant Danzo, you really disappoint me. In the eyes of Danzo Shimura, Ching Shui's body seemed to have a shadow of thousand hands, looking at him sternly with the same attitude as Ching Shui. And on the other side of the ninja world, watching this scene, Uchiha Madara couldn't hold back. I will never accept it, Senju Tobirama, you fool. Uchiha Madara's mentality collapsed. The moves and chakra feelings that Ching Shui showed when faced with Danzo made the ninja Shira dumbfounded this time. What he thought could be performed was the reincarnation of Izuna fights against his enemy and his beloved disciple, and the refreshing scenes of the Uchiha clan feeling proud and proud made him, a loyal audience, have a great time. As a result, my younger brother reincarnated and practiced the skills of his former mortal enemy. In an instant, the cool article turned into an abusive article. Uchiha Madara put on a mask of pain and recalled the information that Black Zetsu had worked overtime to send him recently. After setting his sights on Qing Shui, Heiju entered a busy working mode. Uchiha Madara, this unscrupulous boss, assigned him tasks from time to time and forced him to work overtime, regardless of the fact that Black Zetsu was already very busy trying to win Uchiha Obito's heart. Uchiha Madara's attitude towards Black Zetsu is that as long as he doesn't die from exhaustion, he will do it to death. But the effect is also significant. Uchiha Madara has a complete grasp of Qing Shui's life experience, hobbies and other information. Why is Qing Shui the descendant of Uchiha Mirror? Uchiha Madara's mind was as fast as lightning, and he instantly contacted Qing Shui's life experience and found the answer to the question. When Qing Shui conquered Yashiro Uchiha, he used a water escape similar to Tobirama's, and a genjutsu that specifically fought against the Uchiha clan. It's just that Qing Shui later used Izuna's sword Muramasa, and the combination of fire escape and ninja swordsmanship was too distinctive, which directly caused Uchiha Madara to ignore the water escape of the big guy. It's just a matter of using some water to escape. It's not a big problem. How could my brother be reincarnated like Senju Tohama? Isn't it just water escape? Who wouldn't? I, Uchiha Madara, still have all attributes of chakra. But looking at it now, the problem seems to be big. Not only did Qing Shui learn the strange power of the Thousand Hands, but the taste of water release and the feeling of chakra are quickly approaching the Thousand Hands gate, and even his posture and tone of voice. If Uchiha Madara hadn't known about Seishui Izumi's unique fire escape skills and ninja sword skills, he must have been the reincarnation of his younger brother. Uchiha Madara even wonders if this fool Senju Tobirama was reincarnated into the Uchiha clan. In fact, if we just talk about their personalities, there is really no difference between these two guys, Izuna and Tobirama. It's just that Uchiha Madara's filter is very deep, and he doesn't want to admit it from the bottom of his heart. Calm down, I want to calm down. Uchiha Madara took a long breath and analyzed calmly. Qing Shui's grandfather is Senju Tobirama's disciple. Although this fool is insidious and cunning, and a disgusting ninja, he still treats Uchiha Mirror with care. So, Uchiha Mirror must have left Qing Shui a lot of things Senju Tobirama taught him, including the ninjutsu he shared with him on weekdays. Qing Shui's water escape and illusion skills probably come from this. Uchiha Madara's thoughts were divergent, recalling the Warring States period decades ago. At that time, brothers Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Izuna would often discuss their opponents in a room. Uchiha Madara told Izuna how to deal with Hashirama, and Izuna and Uchiha Madara asked for advice on how to deal with Qian. Between the hands. At that time, Uchiha Izuna had thoroughly figured out Senju Tobirama's water escape and tricks. No matter how exquisite water release is, it is not difficult for Uchiha Izuna, who has the Mangekyo Sharingan and amazing talent, to learn it. However, due to some strange face, Uchiha Izuna never practices the Senju Gate. The face of Jian uses his water escape. Even so, the results were impressive, and Uchiha Izuna has been pressing Senju Tobirama since then. Until Senju Tobirama developed the Flying Thunder God technique, Uchiha Izuna was not given the opportunity to study his new moves. These ninjutsu are not the problem, the key is. In front of Uchiha Madara's eyes, the figure of Qing Shui when he exploded just now appeared. Even he couldn't deny that the posture and eyes were so similar to Senju Tobirama. The key is that the Uchiha Mirror must have left Qing Shui with his thoughts about Senju Tobirama. Ninja, the way of ninja determined by thoughts is the key, but Qing Shui's background makes him unable to do anything. He has been watching the garbage written and spread by Senju Tobirama since he was a child. Uchiha Madara felt more and more distressed. Finally, Izuna's chakra was reincarnated and he found it. Everything started so perfectly. But problems also arise. Accompanying Qing Shui is the identity of Uchiha Kagami, the descendant of Senju Tobirama's disciple. In Uchiha's view, Qing Shui, as the reincarnation of Izuna, if he continues to develop on the path of Senju Tobirama and changes his thinking. That is simply unbearable and unimaginable. If one day, Qing Shui forgets the fire release and Tachi, the charming and dangerous Sharingan in his previous life, and only remembers the water release and forbidden techniques. She is clearly Izuna, but she lives like Tobirama Senju. Uchiha Madara's eyes darkened. No, absolutely not. Uchiha Madara's breathing became rapid. If Qing Shui became like this, his brother would have committed an irreparable crime. It's the kind of sin that cannot be undone even if you try to save the world with infinite Tsukuyomi. Watching your brother turn into your own enemy. I have to find a way, I have to find a way. Uchiha Madara clenched his fists, and at this moment, his hatred for Senju Tobirama reached its peak. He has decided that when the Eye of the Moon plan succeeds, he will first create a world without Senju Tobirama. Uchiha Madara looked at his arms with wrinkled skin, feeling more and more anxious to regain his strength. Can't he fight now? No, in fact, Uchiha Madara is still very good at fighting. Even if he is about to die in a few years, he can still control a large area of Anbu and Three Tails in Kurigakure. If the current Uchiha Madara does not consider overdraft, he is still stronger than the cage level. But the problem is, compared to his peak state, if he were to challenge the entire ninja world alone, with his current decaying body, there was really a great risk of overturning. For a being with divine status in the ninja world, Madara Uchiha could not accept that he did not have the combat power to crush everyone in the ninja world. Therefore, he came up with the spokesperson plan and wanted to return to the ninja world in the most perfect appearance. However, as he discovered that Qing Shui was the reincarnation of Izuna, and the influence of Senju Tobirama on his new brother. If he wanted to win back Qing Shui's heart, Uchiha Madara didn't think Black Zetsu could do it. Only his brother could do it himself. Uchiha Madara couldn't sit still. Even for his all-encompassing body, reversing the aging of the body is not as simple as absorbing chakra. This process will not be very decent, and it will feel like seeking medical treatment in a hurry. However, Uchiha Madara has already made up his mind to contact Qing Shui personally. For that day, Madara Uchiha needs to show that he can be the best he can be, and change his plans. Uchiha Madara cut off contact with White Zetsu. He couldn't bear to see Qing Shui's current appearance again. From the laning target Uchiha Madara, you get Uchiha Bloodline, Uchiha Madara version. The sound of exploding gold coins sounded. This is a good late-game talent. Uchiha Madara's bloodline is a late bloomer. It only took a few years for Uchiha Madara to go from opening his eyes at the age of 15 to conquering the ninja world. On the other hand, Qing Shui also obtained Uchiha Obito's bloodline enhancement. Uchiha Obito is a blast in the early stage but has no improvement in the later stage. The peak of this life is when he opens his eyes. Qing Shui, who has absorbed the two, has reached the level of a gifted monster in terms of Uchiha bloodline. But talent is not strength after all. It takes time for Qing Shui to fulfill it. Compared to Uchiha Madara's gold coins, Qing Shui's eyes flashed imperceptibly, and he looked at the barrier arranged by the roots in the distance, thinking in his heart, Baiju's Mayfly technique is indeed an incredible ninjutsu. If it were not a specifically targeted technique, it would not be able to stop it at all. Can't stop. Except for the root team that attacked him, as soon as they took action, there was a perception barrier that blocked chakra and blended into the night. No doubt another root squad did this. Shimura Danzo anticipated Qing Shui's resistance and became particularly skilled in the method of tying people up. Qing Shui, on the other hand, took advantage of his trick. Since Shimura Danzo blocked the perception outside the barrier, Qing Shui just used it to test the capabilities of Senju Tobirama. Is this old man willing to lend his power to himself in a moment of real crisis? At present, Senju Tobirama is still willing. When Shimura Danzo swung the fatal sword in anger, Qing Shui experienced the power of the peak Senju Tobirama. At least, with Danzo Shimura in his prime, he can be defeated with one move. Moreover, Qian Shu Tojian does not want Qing Shui to get hurt. Knowing these 2 points, Qing Shui's goal of using the power of Thousand Hands Feijian has been achieved. Shimura Danzo fell to the ground, his eyes full of fear and anger. With his strength, he can definitely be called a cage-level powerhouse in the ninja world. Qing Shui, a boy of 11 or 12 years old, could have the strength to knock him down, and he was still an Uchiha. Is that even a big deal? We must try our best to get rid of this troublesome kid. For a moment, Shimura Danzo wanted to tear off the clothes on his chest and die with Qing Shui in half the street. And with the resolution of Qing Shui's crisis, Qian Shu Feijian's power faded like a tide. The power of Lama Fei has expired. Like Shimura Danzo, Senju Tobirama also fell into shock and confusion. He didn't understand why he could provide Qing Shui with the power of his soul, and Qing Shui's compatibility with him was so good. Chakra, if increased rashly, will not necessarily improve the strength of the ninja, and may even cause disorders in the body. Qianju Tojian has already made plans to teach Qing Shui to stabilize his strength and save his own life first. But to his surprise, Qing Shui used his power so smoothly and perfectly that it even made Senju Tobirama feel that he had returned to the ninja world at his peak. Even the posture, eyes and punching movements are exactly the same, and they even knocked Danzo over. After being shocked, Qianju Tojian discovered that he could take back the power he gave Qing Shui, so he quickly withdrew. This also made him breathe a sigh of relief. Senju Tobirama still has hope for Konoha. Although the Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo he has seen so far are a bit abstract, there are also Hatake Sakumo and Sarutobi Ban. Such a mainstay. Overall, Konoha still has a promising future. Moreover, his two apprentices didn't make big mistakes. Maybe they did a good job in a big way, but they just had some minor flaws. And if Qing Shui, an Uchiha, acquires the power that he had without restraint and at his peak, then the situation will get worse. Senju Tobirama has decided that he needs to find time to have a serious conversation with Qing Shui about why he can lend Qing Shui his power. If this matter cannot be understood, Qing Shui will not use the power of Fei Lama Qianju Feijian again. Qianju Tojian didn't want Qing Shui to use his power to bully his students. Then, Shimura Danzo stared at Qing Shui closely, his expression suddenly changed from angry to confused. In his extraordinarily serious perception, Qing Shui's chakra, although considered to be at the Jonin level, was within the range of normal geniuses. The chakra was so different from the chakra at the moment when he was knocked down. But at such a close distance, Shimura Danzo did not believe that Qing Shui could blind his perception and hide his chakra. Even his mentor Senju Tobirama couldn't hide that level of chakra well, let alone Qing Shui. So, why was Qing Shui able to explode with such power just now? Qing Shui keenly caught the change in Shimura Danzo's expression, laughed in his heart, and used medical ninjutsu to adjust his body. At this moment, as the root ninjas who deployed the shielding barrier came to support, the chakra from the Hokage building also sensed it. Qing Shui's face became extremely pale, abnormally bright blood slowly dripped from the corners of his mouth, and his steps became sluggish, as if his body was extremely exhausted. The secret technique developed by Grandpa in his last days cannot be used at will. It feels like the internal organs have been drained. Qing Shui was talking nonsense and looked at Danzo with angry eyes. Assistant Danzo, why do you discriminate against me so much? You also said that I blasphemed the ninjutsu of the second generation. His water escape, genjutsu and strange power techniques, my grandfather has a complete set of them. I don't believe that you, as the second generation's favorite disciple, will not have these classics. I study these seriously, what's wrong with that? Qing Shui loudly accused Shimura Danzo, with a pale face. The anger in his grievance was very real. Danzo Shimura stood up slowly, with a hint of embarrassment in his eyes. If you think about it carefully, there is really nothing wrong with what Qing Shui said. The only problem was that Qing Shui's overdrafted body unleashed more combat power than he imagined, resulting in both sides failing to capture Qing Shui. Shimura Danzo was really used to being domineering. He had never seen a young genius in the village who dared to fight back against him. And because Qing Shui's water escape was so similar to Senju Tobirama, combined with Qing Shui's Uchiha background, he was used to getting angry from embarrassment. As Danzo Shimura stood up, Qing Shui slowly stepped back, his eyes full of wariness and disappointment. It seems to be asking, are you, the Hokage's assistant, the one who does this? Sensing Qing Shui's weakness, Shimura Danzo became confident again, and said in a cold tone, I still said the same thing, come back to the roots with me, I will explain everything to you. This is just a necessary sacrifice for Konoha. As a ninja, you need to learn to be patient. Shimura Danzo approached Ching Shui. The root ninjas who came for support also surrounded him. Ching Shui's expression gradually became desperate, but he laughed in his heart. Because, in the next moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally arrived. Sarutobi Hiruzen fell from the sky. When he appeared on the scene, Shimura Danzo, who had put on his confident smile again, his expression instantly froze. But what's interesting is that the roots that received Shimura Danzo's order are still surrounding Chingsui and Sarutobi Hiruzen, as if they don't recognize the Hokage. Hiruzen, why are you here? Shimura Danzo hurriedly signaled the roots to stop, and then the villain complained first. This brat from the Uchiha clan is too dangerous. I just wanted to talk to him, but he violently resisted me. Threatening the village's top officials with force, Hiruzen, you know how bad this is, right? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Shimura Danzo with an expressionless expression, and then looked at Ching Shui. Although Ching Shui's punch knocked Danzo Shimura down, it did not leave any external injuries, so now he looks completely unscathed, and his face is even quite rosy. But Ching Shui, on the other hand, was not only pale, but also had dried blood on the corners of his mouth, and there were even scratches under his eyelids. Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart trembled. Where is this violent confrontation with Shimura Danzo? This was clearly his attempt to kidnap someone and steal his eyes, but he failed. Ching Shui, are you okay? Hiruzen Sarutobi frowned and asked softly. With me here, you are absolutely safe, don't worry. Uncle Hiruzen, you came at the right time. I'm fine. Ching Shui forced a smile and said in a weak tone. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded distressedly, a little scared in his heart. Fortunately, he found something unusual and rushed over. In recent days, his youngest son Sarutobi Asuma seemed to be a completely different person. He treated his father with a lot of respect, which made him feel very comfortable, and he seemed to have gained an understanding of ninjutsu. At this age, he had mastered the profound changes in the properties of fire chakra, and he was considered a young genius. And all of this is closely related to Ching Shui. No matter what Asuma does, he will always mention Ching Shui. In his words, he is looking forward to becoming a partner with Ching Shui in the future. If Shimura Danzo were to destroy Ching Shui, Sarutobi Hiruzen wouldn't even dare to think about what Asuma would think of his father, and how he would think about Konoha and the Will of Fire. He had promised Asuma and Ching Shui that he would deal with the darkness in the village. As a result, the warrior who discovered the darkness was killed first. If it really develops like this, Sarutobi Hiruzen feels that he will probably lose a son and a talented Uchiha boy who respects him very much. Not only Asuma, but Sarutobi Hiruzen also gradually began to really like Ching Shui. After all, Ching Shui respected him so much and was proficient in the Will of Fire. He not only helped Asuma, but also understood the ways of the world. When Sarutobi Hiruzen recalled the scene of Ching Shui calling him Uncle Hiruzen and lighting a cigarette for him, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a warm current in his heart. Therefore, this Hokage's anger has been ignited. But Danzo Shimura didn't seem to realize this problem yet. He stared at the weak Ching Shui and said in a cold tone. This kid has secretly mastered a secret technique with explosive potential. It can increase his strength several times in a short period of time. I think this is very dangerous to the village and must be investigated clearly. Hiruzen, I know he is a descendant of Kagami. Let him join my roots. I will train him well and become the sharp blade of Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen grimaced and took a deep breath. Continue, Danzo. After receiving approval from Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shimura Danzo's smile became ferocious. Very well, Hiruzen, have you also seen the darkness and strangeness hidden in this brat's heart? He is afraid of me. I promised him to accept him as my disciple, but he refused. There's something wrong. How could a brat from the Uchiha clan refuse my invitation as the Hokage's assistant? He must have some ulterior secret that I'm afraid I'll find out. Shimura Danzo looked like he had the pearls of wisdom in his hands. His eyes flashed across Ching Shui from time to time, with a strong aggressiveness. The look in his eyes seemed to be saying, this huge Konoha, how can you run inside? These are all my people. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face became darker and darker. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at the roots of those who were knocked down by Ching Shui. Everyone was not fatally injured, but knocked unconscious. Even breathing could be heard between his noses. Look at Qing Shui. He doesn't hesitate to use secret techniques to resist your persecution, but he still does things so measuredly that he can't bear to hurt the ninjas in the village. Mastering the explosive secret technique is dangerous to the village. What kind of logic is this? Don't you have it yourself? If you don't trust outstanding juniors so much, how can you still have the will of fire in your heart, Danzo? As for why Qing Shui rejected you, of course it's because I, the Hokage, took care of the descendants of the village and the descendants of my friends one step ahead of you. Is it your turn to blame me here? Sarutobi Hiruzen sneered, and was about to start walking towards Shimura Danzo, but Qing Shui gently grabbed his sleeve. Qing Shui, who was pale, slowly shook his head and said in a hoarse voice. Uncle Hiruzen, I think this is probably a misunderstanding. Assistant Danzo and you are both important high-level officials in Konoha. There is no need to have a conflict over a trivial matter like me, a ninja school student. Immediately, Qing Shui reluctantly smiled with Danzo Shimura. Assistant Danzo, if you are interested in Lord Tobirama's ninjutsu, you can send someone to inform me, and I will give you my grandfather's classics. I still quite like sharing ninjutsu with the ninjas in the village. Whether it's the Uchiha clan's fire escape or my favorite medical ninjutsu, I want more Konoha ninjas to learn it and make them stronger. Quote. As he spoke, Qing Shui gathered chakra on his palms, exactly like the strange power of thousand hands. Asuma and I have made an appointment. Tomorrow we will study the commonalities between chakra control and Senju Kaijutsu. We plan to write a ninjutsu paper, which may allow more Konoha ninjas to enjoy this close technique. Uncle Hiruzen, if our research yields results, Asuma and I will have completed a mission. We made an appointment. If we can get a bonus, we'll go have barbecue together. Sarutobi Hiruzen's breath was stagnant. No wonder Asuma had been frantically reading books on chakra control recently, looking like he was thirsty for knowledge. If Asuma can't see Qing Shui tomorrow. Sarutobi Hiruzen patted Qing Shui's shoulder distressedly and said softly. Go back and rest quickly. Asuma will be waiting for you tomorrow, Qing Shui. Qing Shui nodded, even said goodbye to Shimura Danzo, and walked towards the Uchiha clan. At this moment, even Danzo Shimura was confused. He couldn't tell whether Qing Shui was an overly pure will of fire idiot or a cunning Uchiha brat. But Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't give him much time to think. After Qing Shui was no longer present, Uncle Hiruzen's character no longer had to be maintained. Instead, the majestic third Hokage appeared. Danzo Shimura stared at Qing Shui's leaving figure, his eyes full of unwillingness. He really fell in love with Qing Shui more and more. After almost being kidnapped, are you still saying something nice for him? This kind of extremely stupid Uchiha also possesses such a talent for combat, which is perfect for him to be brainwashed by Danzo Shimura and become the best blade for him to ascend to the position of Hokage. But in a blink of an eye, Sarutobi Hiruzen walked up to him without saying a word and looked at him expressionlessly. Danzo Shimura's heart trembled. Although in terms of height and body shape, Shimura Danzo is bigger than Sarutobi Hiruzen. However, due to his growing up experience and his current status, the Hokage assistant will never be able to hold his head high in front of the Hokage. Danzo, is there anything else you want to say? Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes and said in a cold tone. In order to control Qing Shui, you mobilize the roots to protect the village and set up a barrier to block my perception. You, the Hokage, are assisting you in doing things. Are you so afraid that I, the Hokage, will see you? How many things do you still have that I don't know? Hidden from me, from the village, and from the will of fire that Master Tobirama taught us. Danzo Shimura frowned and retorted. Hiruzen, I'm just trying to prevent commotion in the village. As you can see, Uchiha Chingsui is not a ninja who will follow the village's orders without compromise. He will even refuse orders from me, the Hokage's assistant. I still suggest that even though he is a descendant of Mirror, we still can't take him lightly. Leave him to me. I promise you, Hiruzen, that I will not roughly train him into a basic tool, but will seriously cultivate the next Mirror. Sarutobi Hiruzen sneered inwardly. Do you want to cultivate Qing Shui into a second Mirror? You mean, you're a great ninja like Tobirama-sama? Or are you the Hokage of Konoha? Is it your turn to cultivate Qing Shui? That's mine, mine. A ninja that only I, the Hokage, can possess. Then, Sarutobi Hiruzen rudely interrupted Shimura Danzo's ramblings and pointed at him sternly. Qing Shui's whereabouts and future are directly controlled by me, the Hokage, and it's not up to you, the Hokage's assistant, to dictate. You secretly used your roots to blind me, the Hokage, in the village, and you attacked the genius ninja in the village without permission and seriously injured him. In the past, when you blackmailed the ninjas of the Yamanaka, Aburame and other clans, you at least used words to negotiate with them. I, the Hokage, can also help you to appease you a little in the name of expanding your root strength to defend Konoha. Nowadays, you are becoming more and more arbitrary. You are simply a fool. Duanzo, you are too presumptuous. Danzo Shimura's eyes darkened. In fact, he didn't hear what Sarutobi Hiruzen said at all. Just hearing, I am the Hokage, and, you are the Hokage's assistant, made his blood pressure rise. That's it again. Always like this. There are only two more words for Hokage assistant than Hokage, but it is a chasm that cannot be crossed no matter how hard you try. All it took was one word from Hiruzen Sarutobi, and Danzo Shimura was unable to resist, and he couldn't even keep his job. This is Naruto, the only existence in Konoha. Why, Hiruzen? Shimura Danzo's eyes were full of anger and he said viciously. You are blaming me for a brat from the Uchiha clan. Have you forgotten how Tobirama sensei views the Uchiha clan? Quote. Sarutobi Hiruzen sneered. Danzo, this is why I am Hokage. Tobirama-sama is able to cultivate a ninja like Izuku, not by the brainwashing and curse seal at the root, but by the will of fire that unites people's hearts. The roots are buried in the darkness, do what you should do, and don't think about competing for nutrients with the leaves. Danzo Shimura's gaze suddenly became dangerous. He doesn't want to be a root for the rest of his life, he wants to climb to the top step by step and be the radiant leaf. But Sarutobi Hiruzen was not afraid of his gaze, and even said words that made his heart palpitate. You and Orochimaru are secretly conducting human experiments, do you think I don't know about it? Danzo, I have been waiting for you to confess to me before, but now it seems that you just want to hide it from me. Shimura Danzo's dangerous gaze instantly became suspicious. Sarutobi Hiruzen actually knew his roots so well. It had only been a few days. How many days had his armor just awakened his would-escape talent, and Sarutobi Hiruzen came to visit? For a time, Danzo Shimura didn't even trust his roots. The roots must have been penetrated by Hiruzen Sarutobi, and there must be his hidden clues in it. You will be relieved of your duties as the Hokage's assistant. You will be grounded at home for 3 months and reflect carefully, Danzo. Sarutobi Hiruzen coldly gave Danzo his order and waved. In an instant, countless black shadows appeared from all directions, half kneeling in front of the Hokage. Naruto is directly under the Anbu. And, one of the strongest combat forces in Konoha today, Hatake Tsukumo. Tsukumo, lead the team and thoroughly investigate the roots. Sarutobi Hiruzen said coldly. The members of the roots must also be scanned from the inside out. Don't worry if you encounter Orochimaru. Darkness in the village cannot grow uncontrollably. Shimura Danzo immediately gritted his teeth. Not only would this cost a wood-release ninja, but it might even seriously damage his roots. Hatake Tsukumo nodded. Without even looking at Shimura Danzo, he turned around and left neatly. Hatake Tsukumo. Shimura Danzo stared at his back. This person was already resented by him. Not only was he one of the obstacles to ascending to the position of Hokage, he was also Sarutobi Hiruzen's loyal dog. If you can't offend Hiruzen Sarutobi directly, then cut off his wings first. It doesn't do the village any good by treating the roots like this. Shimura Danzo was still making his last effort and roared angrily, Hiruzen, you will regret it. Danzo, I am the Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand and responded smoothly. This conversation has been played out countless times during the decades that these two people have worked together. Danzo Shimura turned around and left, furious. But after taking 2 steps, I seemed to feel something was wrong. This is not the Hokage's office, there is no door for him to slam. If he didn't throw something, he really couldn't vent the suppressed anger in his heart. Boom. So, Danzo Shimura threw his crutch on the ground hard, snorted as if in protest, and left quickly. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Shimura Danzo who was having a bad temper, but shook his head and chuckled. You are still so innocent, Danzo. If you haven't made any progress, how can you surpass me? However, he reminded me that I need to consider Asuma and Qing Shui's teacher candidates. Asuma and I suggested that Tsunade is a good choice, but we still need to think about it. Sarutobi Hiruzen pondered. Choosing teachers for Asuma and Qing Shui is not a simple matter in the context of the Hokage line of masters and apprentices. Konoha. Roots. Hatake Tsukumo held White Fang in his hands and stood at the front of the Anbu team, checking all areas of the roots. The gloomy and terrifying roots are the most mysterious buildings and areas in Konoha. Ordinary Junin would not want to get too close here, lest they attract the attention of Danzo Shimura and cause disaster. But tonight, Konoha White Fang, who received orders from Sarutobi Hiruzen, led the Anbu ninjas to tear apart this mysterious veil. The so-called roots are nothing more than a detachment of Anbu. But under the indulgence of Danzo Shimura, Nibi used the power of the group to inflict violence on individuals. This behavior, which was essentially bullying, established his personal prestige. As for the Anbu led by Hatake Tsukumo, the root ninja who were still resisting could not stop them at all. As a result, the secret at the root was completely torn apart. The door of a laboratory was opened, and Orochimaru slowly walked out of it. He squinted at Hatake Tsukumo, who was holding a white fang, frowned, and thought in his heart. Danzo Shimura, did you unintentionally make the old man angry? How could you not give him face so much, and suddenly let Hatake Tsukumo lead a team to attack the roots? This force is powerful enough. Trouble, it's not easy for me to face this guy. Hatake Tsukumo stood in front with an expressionless face. The order given to him by Sarutobi Hiruzen was very clear: don't worry about Orochimaru if you encounter him. Orochimaru folded his arms, glanced at the Anbu ninjas who had searched their roots, and said slowly, everyone, this is my laboratory, there are no violations. Tsukumo, what do you want to find? Maybe you can ask me. Orochimaru, I received orders from the Third Lord to thoroughly scan the roots. Get out of the way. As Sarutobi Hiruzen's favorite disciple, Orochimaru's reputation is still easy to use among most Konoha ninjas in Konoha. But here at Hatake Tsukumo, he is no different from ordinary people. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue with a dangerous look and licked the corner of his mouth. In the laboratory behind him, there is not only a complete set of experimental data on Hashirama cells, but also the only successful degradation product at present. The armor at the root is the first would-escape ninja created by Konoha, which is the Yamato of the original time and space. Due to the appearance of Qing Shui, Danzo Shimura concluded that he would get a better Sharingan, so he did not hide Yamato from Orochimaru, but took him out as material to develop a stronger wood release. Tsukumo, I am the Sandame's apprentice. I only carry out the Hokage's orders. Hatake Tsukumo and Orochimaru were facing each other, without giving Orochimaru any face. In his opinion, what about the Hokage's apprentice? Nothing special. He was so ruthless in getting to the root of it, and even Danzo Shimura was offended. How could he still be afraid of Orochimaru, who had been defeated? Orochimaru's expression became a little uneasy, and his pupils stood up like snakes. No, why don't you just say a few words? If you ask me to get out of the way, I will get out of the way. Aren't I, Orochimaru, very shameless? In that case, I, Orochimaru, will remember this matter. Although he was a little unhappy in his heart, Orochimaru still gave way without hesitation. What else could he do? Hatake Tsukumo led a large group of Anbu, but they were ordered to search by the Hokage. Orochimaru stared at the swarming Anbu and shook his head. Even if the wooden ninja, Ka, and Hashirama cell lost these seemingly precious research materials, Orochimaru was not sad. After recent research, Orochimaru discovered that although wood release is indeed a very powerful blood successor limit, in fact, compared to other blood successor limits in the ninja world, it does not exceed the average strength by much. The biggest feature is that it has a special attack effect on tailed beasts. But in today's Konoha, there is still the Vajra blockade of the Uzumaki family, which is no worse than the wood escape against tailed beasts. And when it comes to fighting ninjas, Mudun doesn't have many advantages. Konoha has always wanted to recreate the power of Senju Hashirama by reproducing the wood release. But Orochimaru thinks the reason why Senju Hashirama is powerful is because of his chakra, physique, sage mode and many other reasons. Wooden release is just one of the links and is not the fundamental decisive factor. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and allowed the Anbu to search for his experimental data and took away. Mu Dun is no longer what he needs. Old man, do you know what I'm doing at the root? Hatake Tsukumo's attitude is not normal. War is so ruthless, the human body is so fragile, and so is the relationship between master and disciple. If you want to transcend the shackles of this world, you still need immortality. Orochimaru has already felt the distance from Sarutobi Hiruzen and Konoha. For Orochimaru, who wanted to pursue the road to immortality, he gradually regarded this fetter as a constraint and a burden. And in the Hokage building, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was restored to life by Hatake Tsukumo, felt the same as his beloved disciple Orochimaru. In the past, his most valued disciple had become inseparable from Danzo Shimura, and he gradually began to lose his bottom line in doing things, and he was no longer willing to maintain the will of fire in front of him. Originally, among the three disciples of Tsunade, Orochimaru and Jiraiya, Orochimaru was the one that Hiruzen Sarutobi was most optimistic about. He is calm and talented in his work. Whether it is personal ability in combat, command ability on the battlefield, or village management ability, they are all top-notch. But the problem is, Orochimaru's heart is no longer on the same line as Sarutobi Hiruzen. Therefore, the stronger his ability, the more troubled the third-generation Hokage was. Tsukumo, take this child to the Anbu for training, cancel the name let him forget everything at the root, and live in Konoha under the name of Yamato from now on. I'll do it now, Sandaime-sama. After Hatake Tsukumo left, Sarutobi Hiruzen once again thought about Asuma and Chingsui's teacher candidates. Obviously, after this incident at the root, Orochimaru was no longer in his consideration range. Therefore, the only choices left were Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Jiraiya's apprentice Namikaze Minato. Minato's quality and ability are quite good. The problem is that Ching Shui's ability is so outstanding, and Minato's seniority is a bit low. The current Namikaze Minato has just grown up, and he is not the Yellow Flash who became famous in the 3 battles. When choosing teachers for Ching Shui and Asuma, Hiruzen Sarutobi thought selfishly of the status issues brought about by seniority. In terms of seniority, even in the world of ninjas with extraordinary power, it is an objective phenomenon. Then it's just Tsunade and Jiraiya. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. These 2 apprentices were quite a headache. One was heartbroken by the war, wandering on the edge of giving up on himself, and had not practiced seriously for a long time. One was trapped by a toad and kept shouting incomprehensible words like, the son of prophecy, all day long. He went to Mount Miaomu 2 days ago and hasn't come back yet. Wait until Jiraiya comes back and talk to him first. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head. These disciples really didn't let him worry. But thinking of Ching Shui and Asuma, a heartfelt smile appeared on the Hokage's face. What 2 wonderful children. They haven't even graduated from the ninja school yet, so they worked together to find the black material at the root, and dug out the wood release ninja hidden at the root. Sarutobi Hiruzen hummed a ditty from the Warring States period and read the documents leisurely. And at Ching Shui's house, his master, Qian Shuifei Jian, had an extremely serious look in his eyes, and was negotiating with Ching Shui. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.